Brought to you by our generous patrons over at patreon.com/Addressing Gettysburg. Help support the show and bring more programming like this to the masses by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/Addressing Gettysburg. Now let's get to the show.
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special episode of Addressing Gettysburg's Ask a Gettysburg Guide. It's Ask a Gettysburg Actor. And before we get to our guest, I'd like to introduce a guest co-host who's been on the show twice before, so now this is his third time, Bo Brinkman. Hello, Bo.
Hey, Matt.
Bo is very instrumental in getting the guest that we have today on the show, and so we thought it would be fun if he was also the co-host, since they have a shared experience. And thank you, Bo, for setting this up for us, or helping me set this up, I should say.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my guest today is someone you all know, but let's pretend for a moment you don't, and pretend you didn't read the title of the episode before you hit play, and let's see if you can guess who I'm talking about. He was born Thomas Michael Moore. He studied journalism at the University of Missouri. He was a flight attendant for Eastern Airlines. He worked in television as Tim Siegel on One Life to Live, where he had a 66-episode run. He began appearing in films in 1977 with The Sentinel, and continued on from there with Looking for Mr. Goodbar, The Dogs of War, The Big Chill, Eddie and the Cruisers, Betrayed, Major League, The Field, Gettysburg, Sliver, Sniper, The Substitute, and Occasional Hell with Bo. Bo, you were in that. One Man's Hero, Training Day, and Inception, among a gazillion others. His television work includes One Life to Live, Johnny We Hardly Knew Ye, If Tomorrow Comes, Cheers, Rough Riders, Law and Order, Ally McBeal, Into the West, and that's really just scratching the surface. He's won many awards. He's won a Golden Globe for his Best Supporting Actor performance in Platoon. He won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series for Cheers, and Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Miniseries or a Movie for his performance as Jim Vance in the 2012 miniseries Hatfield and McCoys. The Golden Boot Award, the Lone Star Film and Television Award, so many other things. He was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his portrayal as Staff Sergeant Barnes in Platoon. The list goes on, ladies and gentlemen. Members of this audience know him best as General James Longstreet in Gettysburg, Teddy Roosevelt in The Rough Riders, and Jake Taylor in Major League. But perhaps his crowning achievement of his career, and the most pivotal role ever played, is being a guest on Addressing Gettysburg. So please welcome the outstanding Tom Berenger to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Wow. Tom, I've known you for 30 years, and I didn't know all this until right now about you.
It's been a long life.
Yeah. Well, it seems like an interesting life, too. Where did it start?
What, you mean acting?
No, your life.
My life? Southside Chicago.
Southside Chicago. What'd your parents do?
My dad was a printer. My mom had been a bookkeeper and then became a housewife.
Okay.
Wow.
And you grew up Southside Chicago. You always wanted to be an actor, or how'd you get into that?
No. Originally, I wanted to go into the military, but that didn't happen. I was hoping to go to West Point. I'd been there when I was like 6 or 7, and I thought, wow, I'd like to come here. However, that didn't happen. 2 other guys in my school got commissions, which is kind of odd, you know. Mm-hmm. And the odds of that are very
slim,
very low. But slim. But anyway, 2 other guys went, and I went, oh, hell with that, I thought I would go into journalism, and specifically sports journalism, but that didn't quite happen either. So,
I was a journalism major as well. I was surprised to hear that you were, Tom.
Well, I think part of that was my dad being a printer, and he'd been a printer for the Chicago Sun-Times, and I remember sometimes going with him either downtown there, the Sun-Times or the Tribune like that, and seeing the printing presses and so on and so forth. I remember him telling me, see, the thing was that, although being a printer is a blue-collar job, it's like his spelling was perfect. He would correct the spelling of reporters, and his grammar was great. His vocabulary was huge, and his because he read a lot as well. But kind of self-taught guy. But just being a printer, and I imagine all of them. I mean, in those days anyway, the line type operators and stuff, that they were doing the same thing, correcting the bad spelling of the reporters. And you go, really? Yeah. Well, like Hemingway was a great speller. And perfect punctuation. You almost didn't have to edit him. He could edit himself. But F. Scott Fitzgerald was terrible spelling.
Yeah.
So Max Perkins Max Perkins and those guys had Scribner's and Sons had to constantly keep an eye on his punctuation and spelling and things.
I've read that a lot of really great writers were bad spellers.
Yeah, I mean, English is not an easy language.
No.
I've studied Latin, Spanish, and Italian, and I kind of know, a little French because it's a Latin language, and Portuguese. 6 months I was learning it, but their rules are more strict, and English is a hobnob collection of Latin, of German, Anglo-Saxon, and whatever, Celtic, and or Gaelic, and then Viking, the Viking language, and then the French invaded from Normandy. And and we just grab words right and left from, like rodeo was Spanish, patio was Spanish, umbrella is Italian.
Wow.
And we just grab words and use them. And hopefully you spell them right. But it's hard for people that, not only foreigners, but our kids to learn correct spelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also make words that were intended to be nouns into verbs or vice versa, and it's a weird way of speaking. I guess that would be more Americanism than English, or whatever. So how did you make that leap into acting though?
I think it was my second year at college, and it was like maybe 7:00 at night or something like that. And I'm sitting in my bunk there, and my roommate over on his side, and I hear this ad on the radio, and I said, I think I'm going to try out for that. And he said, why? You're not an actor. I go, I know, but I'm just kind of bored. I'm not playing sports anymore. I don't have any extracurricular activities. It's just go to class, study, come home, study, go to class. I said, I don't know. I think I'll try that. Well, I got the part. And it was a great play. It was four characters only, and it was 4 hours long. And
Wow.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? It was a
wow.
fabulous play.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
had it been like She Stoops to Conquer or something else, maybe I would have lost interest.
Yeah. So what was your sport? You said you had
in Virginia Woolf.
Yeah, no, wait. Hold on. I just want to go back before we go too far away.
Okay.
You said that you don't play sports anymore. You didn't play sports anymore. What was your sport that you played?
Well, I played football, baseball, basketball up to a point. I messed around with boxing. Just to stay in shape in the wintertime. I would box with the wrestlers, like the wrestling coach would say, hey, get over here. Okay, fine. And well, there was only one guy that was pretty good. The others might have been great wrestlers, but they weren't,
good
boxing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been a swimmer, like do laps and things like that. Still do that.
Okay.
That's why I couldn't ever keep up with you. We'd, have a couple of drinks and a couple of cigarettes, and the next morning,
he's jogging and you're
he'd run 5 miles.
Yeah.
And I'd be, at your house, when you're kind of in shape for something, and you almost killed me. And I'm younger
Well,
than you.
I eventually had to quit the smoking. You know, that day was going to come.
It catches up to you at one point or another. So,
Yeah.
okay, now to Bo's question, what was the character that you played in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
The obvious
It was
one.
Nick, the younger professor.
Okay. And how did you like it? I mean, so you had no designs on getting into acting, and here you go.
No, well, you know what happened was like we had sold out audiences, you know, in the theater, and kind of standing room only, and the reaction. Remember, like we went out to take curtain call, and when the four of us walked out there, and it was dead silence in a full house. And we did a bow and we stood up and it was still dead silence. And we all looked at each other like, what the, oh my God, but you know, what the hell is going on? And then finally clapping started, and then they stood to their feet.
So they were just stunned by
the
end of the play. Yeah,
I remember. I remember that that happened a couple times, but I remember the and then also the thing I remember was that, you know, let's see, 4 hours long. All right, so the first act is an hour and a half, and then they'd have a break, and then it would be, I guess, another hour or something. And then there would be a break, and that until the end of the play. So there were actually 2 breaks for the audience, and they, I mean, most of them didn't even leave their seat, like to go out or use the bathroom or have a cocktail or something. They didn't do it. They just sat there like they were afraid to leave the theater. Yeah, they didn't even get up to stretch their legs or anything. They were just glued to their seats. It's a pretty well written play, and he had in his royalty contract that nothing could be cut from it. That's Edward Albee. That's his only play like that.
Yeah,
that not a single word could be cut. So it's like, I mean, full speed was 4 hours.
Did he give notes?
No.
You never met him?
No.
Okay.
But it was full speed, and you know, full. I mean, we would, like, you get laughs in there, and you have to stop for the audience, but you jump right in as you feel the crescendo coming down. That's the normal procedure. Before the applause ends, you start beginning as it begins to dim a bit, and the audience can hear your voice over whatever laughter's left as you get on to the next beat. But so we kept it tight as hell, and the stage managers are always doing that in the theater.
Sure.
They always like checking, you know, their stopwatch, and doesn't matter how long the play runs, you know, for years or travels or anything like that. They're always looking at that watch, making sure you keep it tight. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So after that show, usually something happens to you as an actor, and it's a lot of times it's that decision, that moment where you decide to be an actor or not.
Where you catch the bug.
Yeah, like
that was it. And you know, and I say my first play. However, my first play actually was in Spanish.
¿Cómo?
Okay.
See, but it was what was like in the advanced Spanish class. And he said, "Okay, everybody, now our next project here, you know, amongst many we had, because we were all in the advanced class, and out of that we got, you know, we were. I mean, I would have to say, I think every single one of us were A students in that class, but out of that we got an extra year equivalency in Spanish. So when we went to college, we didn't have to take Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 or something like that. We jumped right ahead to a 3-hour course instead of the 5-hour courses with labs and all that kind of thing. So we were able to, you know, bypass that.
Sure.
And we had talked in Spanish all the time we were in class. we had to get up and do speeches and like book reports and things of that nature. And then he would lecture in Spanish. Mm-hmm. So anyway, he tells us that we're going to do a play by famous Spanish playwright Federico Garcia Lorca, who was actually lined up and shot down during the Spanish Civil War in the 30s. But anyway, it was called Bodas de Sangre, which means blood weddings. And so we had to do the play, and I went up and I said, Professor, I can't do this. No me puedo hacerlo. He says, well, Tomas, you're going to have to, because everybody in this class must do it. I go, but I'm not an actor. I'm a football player. He goes, I know, but you're going to have to do it. I go, oh, geez. Oh, my God. What is the audience going to be? He goes, mostly Hispanic, unless you want your parents to come. I go, no, I don't want them to come. He said, well, yeah. And I go, so if we make a mistake, they're going to know.
See, they're going to know.
I'm afraid so, Tomas. I'm like, oh my God! I was just horrified at the thought, and I was a wreck leading up to going on the stage. We had to do it, I guess, a couple nights, and it was oh my God, I had to do that.
So did that plant the seed in your head later? When you decided?
No. It wasn't until I did Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Okay, so that's where you got it. And then how did you parlay that into television and film? Well, how long did that take?
Well, I went to New York. I did another play or two. Another play or two there.
You did a couple of more plays in college, right?
At college.
And, yes.
And then I remember I was working as a 16mm film editor in Kansas City, and I did about 3 plays there, and then somewhere else in the Midwest. And then I went to New York, and I went to acting school down in the Village, and I started auditioning, and I, got parts in plays, and
Did you go to the Playhouse on Bank Street?
No, I was on Bank Street, but it was HB Studio.
Oh, HB. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I know where it is. Yep. Sandy Meisner's group, right? Was that Sandy?
No.
Started it?
No, they were the
Neighborhood Playhouse.
Neighborhood Playhouse. That's right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So, what was the first film role that you got, and how did you get it? Or did you start in TV first? You started in TV first.
Well, it was. Yeah, but and I did that for a year, and then while I was doing it, I did about 3 off Broadway plays, and so I had to rehearse at night. I do that during the day, rehearse at night. Boy, I was exhausted because I was working every day. Wow. Every day, including a matinee night show on Saturday and a matinee on Sunday. And then doing the TV show, and then doing the play at night, and rehearsal and all that leading up to it. Whoa, I was burnt, but thank God I was young.
It seems like a lot of people got their start on soap operas. Was that like a thing, or is that still a thing?
No, I don't know. Think so. I think it's so easy to get hooked into. I have so many friends that do soaps, and they've never been able to make that jump ever.
No, some stay there for sure.
Not even to prime time. I mean, boom, they're just
right.
There. I think it's very few people that can actually do it. Meg Ryan did it. Tom obviously did. Oh, and you were, for how long were you on that soap, Tom?
I had a year contract.
Oh, okay. So that's not so bad. But
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what do you go to after that? And
well, I did it. Richard Brooks, the writer director, came into town, and he was doing Looking for Mr. Goodbar. And he didn't want anybody to see the script. Why, I don't know, because the book was a bestseller. And the book was based on a real life case, murder case in New York. And so I went in and I told the casting lady, I said, I got there's this play by Lyle Kessler called The Watering Place. She goes, I know it. I know it. And I know Lyle, too. I went, yeah, great guy. But anyway, I said, I think I just use that one scene where the guy comes back from the Korean War and he goes to see his buddy's widow. And it just has this bizarre, freaky ending to it. And I just used that one scene. And she said, that's a great idea. I see where you're going with that. That's a great idea. At least it kind of goes into that dark territory there between a man and a woman. I go, that's the only thing I can think of offhand. She says, do it. That's great. So that's what I did. I got another actress to do it with me, a girl named Connie Forsland. And we did it. It went great. And I knew it when we had, and he said, well, he goes, you want to sit down, Tom? And he goes, thank you, Connie. Thank you very much. And she goes, thanks, honey. You got it, Tom. She left. I knew I had the part. And he was a tough old codger, man. That guy he was great. I mean, he looked like an ex-Marine surgeon. And he dressed like some guy on the cover of Field and Stream magazine. He smoked a pipe, then the baggy pants, and he had just a loose-fitting kind of sports shirt, nondescript clothes.
Yeah.
And he was an old-timer and started as a writer. And he had done movies like Blackboard Jungle.
Yeah, that's right.
The one with the Truman Capote thing, In Cold Blood.
Cold Blood.
Yeah.
He did Cat on a Hot Tin Roof with Newman and Liz Taylor. He did Sweet Bird of Youth with Newman and Geraldine Page. He did Bring Me the Head of...
Yes.
What's that, Valdez? Or no, I don't know. Bring Me the Head
of So-and-so Garcia.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
That's it. Alfredo Garcia.
Yeah.
Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. And then he did... I don't know.
He did a lot.
I'm blanking.
He did a lot.
He did a lot of stuff. Yeah. No, so how after that? That's your very first film that you've done, like professionally, or at all?
No, I had a small part in the very end of the Sentinel, and we shot it in Brooklyn. I remember I had a lightweight suit, but and I'm with my wife, and we're supposed to be from the Midwest, looking for an apartment in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And what's her name? Well, she's famous. She dated Frank Sinatra. She's the only one that
Mia Farrow.
No.
Oh, Ava Gardner.
Ava Gardner.
Wow.
You're welcome.
And I went, wow, this was one of my dad's favorites. Yeah, this was one to write home about. And she was a trip, man. She really was. I remember seeing her just sitting on a stoop. She's playing the real estate agent. And she's just sitting on the stoop talking to all these Brooklynites, in the neighborhood there.
Wow.
And then I remember her wardrobe lady coming out. It's so hot. It is so hot and muggy that I could smell it going by. It was a scotch. I actually smelled it going by on a tray. It was a scotch. You could, when it's so hot, you can smell every smell.
Yes.
And there's no wind or anything.
Right, it's just stagnant.
Dead air. Yeah.
Stinky air. Yeah.
What's that? And I go, Jesus, she's drinking a scotch in the middle of the day in this kind of weather? Holy shit.
Those old timers, man.
Yeah.
They don't make like that
old timers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did ask her, I said, I got to ask you something. I said, I didn't know you were from North Carolina, but I said, are you part Cherokee? And she said, yeah, I am. I said, thought so.
Ava Gardner?
She just had like the cheekbones and the skin, color and the black hair and everything. And she always had these great looks, but she was always exotic looking.
Exotic,
yeah. like she could have been Hispanic or Italian or something, but she was part Indian.
I did not know that. That's interesting. So now you move on. What was the first, did you get a lot of recognition for Looking for Mr. Goodbar? Or what was the first movie that really everybody's like, oh, this guy's a star?
I did. And I remember Diane Keaton saying, you're going to get some work out of this one. I go, you think so? She goes, yeah. I go, yeah, with this character. Come on. She goes, no. It's just a good acting role, and you'll see. You'll get something out of it. Both Richard Gere and I got written up in the calendar section of the LA Times, so yeah, we did get started there.
Yeah. And so then that leads to other things. Let's see, later on, I guess the Big Chill, that was a pretty big one for you.
You want me to do what?
Come on, Sam. Don't make me say it again.
Oh, Meg. You're giving me a massive headache.
You're not going to use that old excuse, are you? You've got good genes.
There's a little shift in your perceptions of the world. Forever you're responsible for another living thing. It's wonderful. But it's a huge commitment. Commitment that has nothing to do with legal names and legal obligations. I'm sorry, Meg. I'd love to help you, but I can't.
You know you're something. I love you.
Meg, really, I can't.
No, I accept that. I mean, I really love you. You're a nice person.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really? So you want to fuck?
Just kidding.
When did you? What was I guess
Eddie and the Cruisers? Actually, Eddie and the Cruisers, although not big at the theaters, became the first cable hit. It had this huge following.
Interesting.
I remember it had kind of a cult following.
Yeah, and it was, and I remember some guy, we were working in Spain on this movie, and some guy starts reading it. And I think because he was also a comedian. I think he's just jerking my chain or something. But it was true. It was in the trades. So, yeah.
And then eventually in the mid-'80s, you get into Platoon with Oliver Stone and Charlie Sheen and all that stuff. When we spoke on the phone before, Platoon came up a few times. So I take it that's one of your favorites.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. I remember telling the guys before we were going on our last little hump that was going to last 2 days out in the bush. And we'd been 3 weeks in there. And one day, I mean, we were being trained by this Marine captain who'd done 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. And he himself had ended up at Way City during the Tet Offensive, where it rained so much and there was so much cloud cover, they had no air support. And where it rained so much, I mean, their uniforms were rotting off them, It was, it just, just horrible.
Just constantly wet.
Yeah.
We got buku movement.
First battalion just got hit 15 clicks north of here. Charlie had Claymore strung up in the trees. Blew a whole fucking platoon to pieces. Bad shit. Yeah. I got 2 lieutenants and captain. Jesus. All right, Sergeant, who do you want on ambush? Wise, you take your squad out. Warren, you stay in. But I need Texan Jr. from your squad.
Roger that.
Okay, move out in 2-0 mics.
I thought it was O'Neill's turn tonight.
No. Tubbs and Morehouse are short.
Few shangs going on an R&R tomorrow, and you want to send them out on an ambush? You got the fresh meat, buddy.
They don't know shit, Barnes, and chances are we're gonna run into something. Think about it.
That's just great, Bob. And what do you want me to do? Send one of my guys out to get zapped so some lame-ass just in from the world can get his beauty sleep? Nah.
Hey, O'Neill, take a break. You don't have to be a prick every day of your life, you know.
Elias, get your men ready. Guy's in 3 years. He thinks he's Jesus fucking Christ or something.
O'Neill, your short timer stay in, but you go out. I need veterans out there.
Sergeant Barnes? Sergeant? I think in front of the men, it's necessary for me to give the orders. Yes, sir.
I guess you know that, or remember that platoon is a real bone of contention with me, right?
No.
I'll refresh your memory.
Why is that? Yes, tell us.
So I was, living in New York. Auditioned. Pat Golden brought me in for platoon, and I read for Tex, which was actually a bigger scene. I mean, a bigger role than it ended up being. So
the machine gunner, yeah.
Yep. And so I came in. I read for Oliver, and I got the part. But then it was at the time. Dino De Laurentiis was, I think, funding it. Something happened.
Dino?
What's his name?
Dino De Laurentiis?
Yeah. Wasn't he? That was the first time.
Okay.
They lost their funding.
Okay.
So a year and a half later, I get called back in. The casting director calls me back in. I go in and I read just again for Oliver.
Right.
And Oliver goes, "Okay, you got it. But you got to call your agent right now. I'm gonna be there. This is the deal. Tell him this is the deal. And there's no negotiation, nothing." I'm like, "Okay, no problem." I was just so happy to get this role because it was such a great script. So then we get set up. I get brought out to L.A. We're getting ready to leave. And SAG would not, do you remember this? When SAG would not give consignatory because they wanted to ship everybody off on cargo planes and put everybody in tents and feed them K rations instead of real food. You remember that?
No, I don't. And I think I was on the last round when that film started. I think it went through 3 or 4 like little upstarts, and each time it kind of broke Oliver's heart because it kept getting canceled.
Right.
Well, I think I was on the last round, which that's number 3 or 4. I'm not sure, but the only thing I remember about this was that we were going to do 3 weeks of jungle training with Captain Die.
Right, well, and that was
like a pirate.
You weren't going to get paid for it, right?
Captain D.
Did y'all get paid for doing it or no?
No, I don't.
That was the thing.
I don't think so, but yes. I don't think so. But we did get expenses, and we got our salaries that we negotiated.
Right. Well, anyway, long story short, I got left behind.
The plane took off without you?
My agent called me and said, "There's a little hitch, but don't worry about it. You're going to be gone for 16 weeks, or I forget however long." And said, "Well, you should go home and visit your family." And I'm like, "That's a great idea." This is before cell phones,
right?
So I went to Texas. In the meantime, nobody could get in touch with me.
Oh my!
I came back and my room was canceled and everybody had left.
Oh,
everybody was gone. Oliver Stone got in a fight with my manager.
So you had to
they were negotiating. They tried to renegotiate, and he got pissed off. And at the end, he said okay, and then he thought about it afterwards and said, "No, I'm not doing it. Forget it."
Man.
So I don't know who ended up paying tax.
Did you fire that manager?
Well, eventually, yeah.
You should have fired him there.
That was just
Anyway,
so everybody went on to
so Tom, how was the shoot without Bo?
I thought you knew that story. Remember the guy that was left behind?
What did he miss?
Everybody on the show pretty much knows the story about the guy that got left behind. It was me.
That's terrible.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, when we also right before we started, the revolution broke out in the Philippines.
Yes,
Oliver was already there, and Dale Dye was already there. They were already there, and much of the crew, I guess. And Oliver told me later, he said, I just thought, here we go again. This revolution is going to just, kill this project.
Yeah.
Because we just can't do it in the middle of this. So what happened? So I remember flying out, and I guess the day I hit, or maybe it was the night before, I'm not sure, the revolution broke out, and I was in the air or something, and I get to LA, and I check into a hotel in the Valley, and this hotel happened to have a bunch of Filipinos working as doormen, in parking valets and stuff.
Yeah.
So every morning I'd go out and get the news from them. Although there was news on television, I'd get the news from them. And they would tell me, because they'd call home. And they'd give me even better updates than the news.
Yeah.
And so I sat in a hotel for 3 or 4 days. And one morning, my phone rings, and it's a reporter I know from Florida, from a newspaper in Fort Lauderdale, with the Fort Lauderdale paper. And he said, well, get your bags packed. I go, well, I'm in L.A. waiting to go. He said, well, it's over. The revolution's over. I go, no shit. But yeah, turn the TV, run down, see the Filipinos again, and flew out the next morning. And, and then it started, a day or two at the hotel and then into the bush.
Where you lost about 30 pounds.
Yeah. It was, and then at the very last day before we went on the last hump, it was like a 2-day thing, and we wouldn't be in our base camp so much, but out just somewhere else, on some grid square out there. And I remember lining up to go broke character, and I told these guys, I said, 2 things after watching everything I've seen during this training period of 3 weeks, and the reading we did a week ago for Oliver. I said, I was sitting in the front row of that classroom, which was the 1st Filipino Infantry Division headquarters. And it was in one of their classrooms that we did this reading. So I'm sitting in the front row, and I said, I just listened to everybody. I didn't look at any. I just could hear it. And I said, I got to tell you, I think we're on to something. I think one day, I think this will be a film classic. I think it'll be a war classic. I think one day, like those guys that were in On the Waterfront, you will tell your children and your grandchildren that you were in this. And what's his name? Kevin Dillon, he quoted me on that. He said, I didn't know what Berenger was talking about.
He does, but
he's now right.
Yeah. There's a story that you told in another interview once about a conversation you and Charlie Sheen had when he recalls he thought he might be there, might have been there when he was a kid. Do you know the story?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That was one day where it's the electricians are changing a few lights here or something in the grips, and they're moving a few cables around, and Charlie and I are sitting there, and we look across the little clearing in the jungle, and he says, I go, look at those guys over there all looking at you. I think. He said, yeah, I noticed that. I go, why? He said, Filipinos are pretty quiet. They're not a noisy bunch.
Right.
Yeah.
Polite.
And he said, I think they recognize me from when I was here with my dad.
Yep. Apocalypse Now.
And Apocalypse. I went, well, yeah, that could be. These guys do a lot of war films, apparently, jungle war. And I said, and some of them look old enough to, have been there 10 years ago or whatever it was. He says, yeah, I think that's it. I got a couple of them look familiar to me anyway. I went, yeah, that could be it. I go, I said, did you shoot here in Luzon on this island? He went, yeah. I go, yeah, my dad was here too. And And he said, what movie did he do? I go, what? What movie was he in? I went,
The War?
Charlie, it was The War, the big one, the real one. What? I go, World War II. He landed here in the liberation of the Philippines. He goes, oh.
Yeah. Wow.
That's pretty good. How was that experience shooting out there? I mean, was it? It looks just hot and sweaty and wet.
Yeah, it was, but of course we were in good shape, you know.
Yeah,
and we. I mean, everybody was exercising. John McGinley's jumping rope. I'm jumping rope. While doing sit-ups, push-ups, you know, in our rooms, and you know, I'm swimming laps in the pool. You know, and then one day I remember, it's like everybody was at work. I was off that day, and it was daytime. On a night shoot. And I'm just swimming laps in this huge empty pool, big pool. And I'm just swimming laps. And then as I come to the wall or something, like after, I don't know, like halfway through or something, I come to the wall and I put my hand up to, and I see a couple of feet there. I go, what? Oh, I stop and I look up. It's Oliver. He's looking down at me. He goes, what are you doing? I go, what am I doing? I'm swimming laps. Why? He goes, maybe you should go out there today. I go, to the set? He goes, yeah. I go, why? He said, the guys like you to be there. I think it would be good if you're there for them for their scenes. Okay, all right. Let me just finish up here and I'll get it right out there. So I go out there and I'm not like even in my camis or anything, you know, my utilities. Yeah. I'm just like, you know, in flip-flops and shorts and a t-shirt. And I'm standing there just watching scenes. And he comes up to me and goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm watching the scenes. He said, I go, what? He says, you're making them nervous. You told me to come out here, and here I am. He goes, yeah, but you're looking at them and you're making them nervous.
Wow.
So what?
Well, he probably wanted you to suit up.
Yeah. But then one time he came into the makeup trailer and he says, Tom, can I talk to you a minute? Yeah, I'm the only one in there. Everybody else is like, they had to do 25 minutes for that makeup. 2 cups of coffee, no big deal. We're in there and he walks in, he wants to talk to me, you know, because, he says, Gordon, can you excuse us? Yeah, Gordon, yeah, sure. Gordon walks out, have a smoke or something outside. And he says, listen, I noticed that you've been staring at the assistant operator, the focus guy. And I went, yeah, well, I think you're making him nervous. I go, Oliver, I said, that guy has blown focus on more of those tracking shots that you seem to be very
fond of
and wants. And I understand that. It gives you movement through the jungle, low infantry kind of movement. And I said, makes sense to me. And we got him coming up in the fight scene, right? And he said, yeah. I go, well, how many times is this guy going to blow focus? He goes, yeah, but you're making him nervous. I go, I'm making him blow focus? I go, what are we going to do if it's a night scene and it's low lighting? It's going to be a nightmare. And I said, how close are we to Australia? Why can't we get an operator, assistant operator, assistant camera AD out of Australia and fly him up here? I said, there's got to be some available guys in Sydney or over in New Zealand or something. There's got to be somebody that can come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that guy was the only guy that got a bad review in the entire movie.
Huh.
Yep. It actually showed up.
Huh.
You mean like a critic's review?
Nailed it and mentioned his name.
Wow.
Then I hear from crew people later on. I go, let me tell you, what? And they said, well, I'll tell you what happened to him. He one day just came in the Panavision. It just brought all his equipment in and everything in. He said, "That's it. I can't take it anymore." And he says, and he went into props.
Probably a good place for
Yeah, probably right. Yeah.
I said, yeah, well, he could blow it there, too. I said, I happen to like prop guys, but this guy is a nervous wreck. I go, even, amiable, nice, relaxed Jackie Stewart, the race car driver, said, lose your nerve. You can't race anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Focus guys are really on that edge.
Well, that's tough. Like, it's just quickly explain to the audience like what you mean. Like when you blow focus, like explain to them what it means, because it is a tough job.
The operator's looking through the lens, okay, and he's panning the camera or whatever.
He's directly behind the camera,
up or down, looking through the lens, and the focus guy is pre-measured the scene. So and also along a track that could change because you're going along a track, your distance changes towards the subject that you're shooting, and so it's the focus will change, of course. Right. And sometimes you'd be going directly towards the actor, or you're going by them, or they're alongside of you, which means you got to keep up with them, and then that's the key grip pushing the dolly grip pushing the camera along the track, but that's his deal. Now, so both those guys have to be in coordination.
Yeah,
it's not easy. I'm not saying this stuff is easy.
No,
either.
I know. Yeah, it isn't. And now they have remote focus for.
Yeah.
And that's tough too. You have to watch a monitor and focus as you're going. But, that was an important thing. And Charlie started complaining about it. And I think I did say something. I go, listen, it isn't just me. I go, Charlie noticed it too, mentioned something to me about it. And I went, yeah, you're right. I'm about to had it with this shit, so.
So it wasn't snakes or giant spiders. It was focus pullers that plagued the shoot of Platoon.
Well, yeah, but I mean, somehow we got by all that.
Yeah.
And then, I figured at that point, Oliver might just explode on the guy,
about Oliver. I've heard different stories.
But speaking of snakes, there was one grip that got bit because I got bit on the foot by there were plenty of cobras. We saw cobras, but there's a pit viper. Smaller snake. You don't see him as well sometimes, but he got bit by a pit viper. His foot started blowing up, and they got him in a car and just raced him to Manila. And he was okay. But I said, it's interesting how many of these guys are either in flip flops or tennis shoes. Tennis shoes okay, but the flip flops, I go, why? Because there's roots coming out of the ground. It's so easy to stub your toe or break your toe on those roots.
Yeah, just from the thought of the snakes, I'd be wearing like cavalry boots. I wouldn't. Yeah, no way.
Oh,
flip flops.
The same thing in East Africa.
Well, but the point is, people are completely unaware of where they are, and they wear flip flops in the jungle.
I think they know, but they're a little bit fatalist. The Filipinos, I found too.
Oh, these are the locals.
Yeah, the locals.
Oh, I thought you meant people in the crew.
Well, they were the Filipinos on the crew. Yes.
Oh, okay. So I think all right.
So then those were the people that had remembered Charlie's dad. Yes, the older ones.
Yes.
But they, I mean. I'm not saying there weren't any Americans, but they were usually like department heads.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So how did you get along with Oliver? I've heard so many stories. It's Hollywood legend, this guy, of how he directs and stuff. Like one time he called Michael Douglas and right before a scene and said, "Hey, what's going on with you?" He said, "No, I'm fine." He goes, You're not back on cocaine, are you?" He goes, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, no."
I got used to his quirky sense of humor. Yeah. I did.
And then they go, you sure you're sober, right? He goes, yeah, dude, what are you saying? Yes. And he goes, okay, go on, do your scene then.
Yeah. He got him all agitated. Maybe that's what he wanted.
To go do the scene.
He wanted him hyper and agitated for the scene or something. Yeah,
that's what he wanted.
So maybe that's why he asked you to come to the set instead of swim.
But that didn't make sense. That one didn't make sense to me. But it's like,
was he an actor's director or?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
and and the other thing was, Oliver expected you to do your homework, right?
Yeah,
you did your homework. You had it all there. He would say a word.
Yeah,
it's like, great, cut. Let's move on, kind of thing. And you could shoot fast too.
Oh, wow, nice.
But I remember saying I always had ideas, but I would hit directors, and this was before Oliver too. But I would hit them way in the beginning, like the very first couple of days of shooting, if we were on the set, or even before that, I would go, listen, I'd throw ideas at them early on so they could ponder them, think about them, and not have to do it on the set the day of. And I would do stuff, and it could have been a month and a half before we got to the scene. And he would come up and he goes, you remember that thing you said about? I went, yeah. He goes, do it. Yep.
That's what sets you apart from so many other actors, Tom. This is serious. You're always so prepared, and you do bring a lot to the table as an actor to a director. And I've seen you do it. And that's what sets you apart from so many, because I work with a lot of actors. And you do too. I mean, I just like when we were doing Gettysburg, and an actor, I'm not going to mention his name, comes walking up with the script under his arm, and a very well-known actor, and says, hey guys, does anybody know if my character dies in this movie?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I remember, because you indignantly about-faced and walked away.
Yeah. And I mean, and everybody there had done research on their character.
Right. Yeah, we were all talking about, Yeah. And you were quizzing other actors about, what they knew,
Yeah.
You wanted to know if they were up to snuff or not. And right in the middle, like on cue, this guy walks up.
I don't know, everybody's jaw dropped, including Ron's. Yeah. Like how do you? And there was like a lot of people there.
Yeah, it was a big circle of us. Yeah.
And the guy wasn't joking. This
dead
is completely serious.
He was dead serious.
Oh God.
He just wasn't there. I mean, he was okay in the scene.
He was. Yeah.
And it's a nice little scene, but I'm like, whoa, okay,
yeah. I will be breaking bread with you.
Yeah, it is a nice scene, and I'm not going to say because I don't want to give away who it is, because Bo told me the story, and I went and I watched the scene, and you. As Longstreet, you play, you're actually kind of friendly to the guy, and to me that goes to show kind of joking around. It's kind of a funny scene, and to me it just goes to show the mark of a good actor, that you can not let that stuff get in the way and go ahead and do the job the way you're supposed to do it in a scene.
Well, I kind of thought, hey, this sort of works in a way.
You used it.
Because I
mean
I see
that character is like very smart person in reality, right?
Right.
But I'm kind of treating him like a little boy or something.
Yes.
Oh, did you really? That's nice, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get back to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But,
okay, that's a good point.
So to actually use it, you can actually use it.
Is it true that there were several roles that you were considered for that ended up being Kevin Costner roles, like Untouchables and Dances with Wolves and JFK? That's not true.
No,
your IMDb is incorrect.
Yeah, no. The only, I think, Betrayed, the one I did with Deborah Winger, I think he was interested in that, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so that was just
That's what I'm thinking of.
Piece of misinformation I found.
You worked. Okay, so the original story with the Kevin Costner character that died. So there was a whole almost a different movie shot. Right?
Oh, in The Big Chill you're talking about.
In The Big Chill, didn't he have he was kind of like the lead character, and then he was completely cut out?
No. What it's like in The Big Chill, there was the scene that is at the end of the movie, and it's a flashback scene, and you actually see him for the first time at the end of the movie because we have talked about him. We've been to his funeral. We have adorized him and missed him and, paid homage and all this kind of stuff. And then you see all of us at the University of Michigan. And we're younger and we're, more kind of, goofy, I guess, or something. And innocent. And so then you see him in that. And you see him wearing a leather jacket that Meg gives to Bill Hurt.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's like other little things, like the whole thing of throwing the spaghetti on the refrigerator against the wall. Right. And some other stuff that like people mention in there that maybe doesn't register real big, but it would have if you'd seen the last scene.
I see.
Yeah. It would have been in your subconscious, and then you went, oh yeah. Some mention of that or something, something.
Yeah. So it was probably the producer's cut that cut the end out. I guess.
Well, it was. I think probably the studio's cut.
Yeah, studio's cut.
Warner Brothers, but the thing was like. I remember we had a meeting about it, and Larry says, well, they're talking about cutting the scene here. He might call us all together. And I don't know when this was. I can't remember when we had this meeting, because it seemed like we were at the studio in a conference room or something. And it wasn't before we started. And it had to be after we finished.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we were all in the same room. But anyway, there we were. And he said, they're talking about cutting the scene and stuff, and and one person said, oh, I really like that. And somebody else says, nah, I don't know. I think I'd pay if you could go, kind of thing. But I said, it's a bit, and Larry wrote this, so he's just kind of nodding his head, listening, not being judgmental at all. But I said, maybe I'm off here. I said, but I had a feeling that this scene was like a scrapbook. Like if we had all sat at the couch and looked at a bunch of old photos of each other and started laughing and whatnot. Like how we do.
Right.
As families or groups of, friends. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh, God, that's right.
Right.
And I said, I think that's what that scene was about, because I don't know about you all. I wasn't really sure what it was all about. Why were we, it's at the end of the, I can see why it's at the end of the movie now, but I go, I don't know, that's what I think we did it for, was a scrapbook.
Yeah.
That's my metaphor for it anyway.
Yeah.
Do you find that directors generally don't mind it when actors get involved with things like that, kind of have those conversations with them?
No, I think they welcome it. I think they really do. I certainly think the good ones do. They question themselves. Every writer does.
Sure.
Well, that's
until a writer has an audience, he doesn't know what he's got there.
That's right.
Yep.
That's why Ron was so good to work with. I would bring him scenes and go, you know what, this doesn't work very well. Do you mind if I'm not kidding you. Do you mind if I rewrite some of the dialogue? And I sat down with Martin Sheen, and we would go over it and kind of rewrite it, and I'd bring it back to him, and Ron would look at it and go, oh, no, I like that a lot better. Yeah,
okay.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Ron had been an actor once too, hadn't he?
A what?
An actor?
He'd been an actor
Well,
once.
in college and stuff, he did some Shakespeare. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that. Now, there's some people who are so rigid. You go, oh boy, we're in trouble here.
Oh yeah, their
This
words
is
are
all
written in
about
stone.
him. This is all about, he doesn't get the whole idea of what theater and filmmaking are supposed to be.
A collaborative
what drama, comedy are supposed to be. Yeah, they don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, like Tennessee Williams. That's what was so great about him. Now here you got the best playwright in our American history.
Yep.
And he would give huge credit to the actors that were in his plays. And he said, and then of course the playwright is also in the theater with the actors and the director doing rewrites.
Yep.
Before, and maybe this could even be when they're in Boston and Philly before they get to Broadway in New York. Then once they do that, that's it. The play gets printed up,
and that's word
Samuel French and Samuel French and Sons, and the other publishers, and that's it. It's locked in forever. But until then, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
And so if you've ever done a new play, and I've done a couple, I've done a couple of the playwrights there. And you're changing things where it works better, or I don't know, makes more sense or something.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times I wish I'd had a playwright around and they weren't dead or gone or, they weren't available, because you go, what is he saying here? Why is this scene here?
Yeah.
There must be a reason for it. This thing got done 150 performances or something. I go, what? There has to be a reason for this.
When's the last time you've done a play? You get as a film actor, you start doing films, you go from job to job, right? And you get so far away from what inspired us to be actors to begin with, theater.
Sure.
And there's a lot of us, Tom and I for sure. There's a lot of actors that have never stepped foot on stage. But when's the last time you did a play?
The last time was a new play called National Anthems. The playwright, my memory's failing me here, but he might have even been in remission when we were doing a second version of the finished product, right? And so he was there for rewrites and stuff, and it was a hell of a play. It really was. It was brilliant. It's a 3-character play in 2 acts. And here again, that's the second time I got the silent audience.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would love to see
that director at University of Missouri, he said that may never happen again in your life. And it did.
It did.
It was Kevin Spacey and Mary McDonald.
Oh, wow.
And myself.
Wow.
And it was
a great cast.
Yeah, they were great. They're really good actors and good theater actors and stuff. And so we had a hell of a run there. Once again, sold out, standing room only.
Wow.
Yeah, in the Warmworth Theater in New Haven. And we had Broadway people coming up, and we got great reviews in all the New York papers and stuff. And we tried to get to Broadway. What happened was, like, each one of us started getting different film gigs. That, Mary ended up doing Dances with Wolves.
Right.
And I don't know what Kevin was doing. I don't know.
Usual Suspects, maybe?
It might have been.
That was around that time, right?
But that's what happens. You get pulled off.
Yeah. So do you, Tom?
And then your schedules are all different.
Yeah. Do you prefer doing stage to screen, Tom, or like if it wasn't, if the money was all the same, let's say the money wasn't an issue, what would you rather do?
Probably stage.
Yep.
What is it? The thrill of being in front of an audience, or it sounds terrifying to me.
It's every sometimes different.
Sometimes, but it
you can find nuances every performance.
It should be different every night.
Yeah.
How do you mean different? You change the words? No,
nuances.
No, it's just
you discover as you go along. Every performance, you might discover more about that character,
and that can't be done in 7 takes in a film.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were working with somebody like John Cassavetes, you never knew what he was going to throw at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get this almost little smile on your face going, come on. Yeah. You want to improvise? Let's go. Yeah.
Well, but I get it though. It's on stage. It's an immediate like adrenaline rush, and you can't get it back. There is no doing over. It's just boom. It's that moment, and then it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So before we get to Gettysburg, which of course is what everybody's all nerdy about here, Major League was another big one for you.
Can I have your attention, please? I have something I think you all ought to know about. It seems that Mrs. Phelps doesn't think too highly of our worth. She put this team together because she thought we'd be bad enough to finish dead last, knocking attendance down to the point where she could move the team to Miami and get rid of all of us for better personnel.
Even me?
Even you, Dorn.
What if we don't finish last?
She'll replace you with somebody who will. After this season, you'll be sent back to the minors or given your outright release.
Well, then I guess there's only one thing left to do.
What's that?
Win the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
Yes!
You said you played baseball. Were you a catcher?
No.
No.
Third base.
Third base. Did you have to have like a catcher work with you, or did you just naturally? I mean, you look like you know how to be a catcher.
It was Steve Yeager, but he and he was there through the whole shoot as well. But he and Charlie and I started early.
Okay.
Before everybody. Then there was a kind of, I don't know, like maybe a week in Tucson, Arizona, where we just practiced and whatnot,
Yeah.
And then we had, and then we started shooting. But we started shooting in Tucson because that little stadium there was where the Cleveland Indians, that was the Grapefruit League out there in Arizona. And most of the teams are in Florida, but there was a league out there.
Mm-hmm.
So
is Yeager still alive?
At least that's where Cleveland was now. I think they're in Florida now.
Is Steve Yeager still alive?
Yes.
I remember when I worked out with you guys with Steve Yeager at Pepperdine that time, and I remember him catching the ball with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and I was like, "Wow, this old timer!"
Oh yeah,
wow.
Hey, you gotta love that.
He told me he used to. I used to have I'd sneak a cigarette in the dugout. I go, what? The camera, the TV. Yeah, but he says the cameras aren't on you all the time. But every time I saw that camera coming over towards the dugout, and he says, and it's not necessarily focusing on me, he says they're just in there looking at the manager or the next guy batter up or, some pitcher getting ready to walk out or what. Yeah, I don't know, So it would come by and he says, I just put the cigarette down next to me, next to my hip on the bench.
Golly.
Yeah.
Those guys were rot gut back in the old days. Those baseball players were rough around the edges, man. They drank, No,
I know. Yeah. That's what's so good about those old timers.
Yeah, but I just want to say Yeager was a great teacher. Not everybody is a good teacher.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like, they don't know how to teach somebody what they do.
Right.
And he was excellent.
He instructed me. Remember, I learned a lot of stuff that I had no idea about.
Mm-hmm.
And I played baseball from the time I was 8 years old.
What position did you play?
Shortstop.
Shortstop.
Yep.
Because you're not tall.
I guess so.
Just kidding, Bo. Just kidding. So, the end of our shows, we play out a song called Gary Owen, and. You have an interesting tie to that song, don't you?
Well, yeah, my great grandfather wrote it, and he was a poet songwriter, early 1800s up until it's about 1850 or somewhere in there. And he wrote that, and he also wrote The Minstrel Boy, both songs we've all heard. And we were up at Sturgis for Bike Week, and we heard this guy playing the bagpipes at a rally. And then he showed up right next door to us, he and his wife. They were both motorcycle riders, and they had been motorcyclists in the NYPD in the Bronx. That's where they met, and they married. And here they were, and then he says, I'm the guy that played the back. I go, oh, yeah, God, that was great. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, are you, then we're fond of this cop. I said, are they the Emerald Society? And he goes, yep. I go, so you played the St. Patrick's Day parades with the NYPD? And he goes, yes. I said, how about inspectors' funerals? They do that. He goes, oh, yeah, plenty of those. He says, you're not even just New York City. Sometimes you would go upstate or down to Texas or play and stuff like that. I said, and I still play, of course, for some of these things, even though I'm retired. And he showed up here in Florida where we're at, right? But that day out there in Yellowstone, and we were packing up, getting ready to leave and stuff, and they were getting ready to go on a motorcycle ride in the park, and he played both of those songs when I told him that he had written those.
And that's Thomas More?
Yeah, and this is interesting too. There is a restaurant called Tom Moore's Tavern or something like that. It's in Bermuda, and the house was built in 1600 something or other. He had been there in 1801 or 2, something like that. And you go, what is he doing in Bermuda? And why was he in this house here, right? Living in it. Well, he was working for the British Admiralty because he had 5 kids, so I guess writing music wasn't enough to support him.
Right.
So he had a job at the Admiralty, which is, like a civilian job, like this administrator of some type of, probably supply, I would imagine, for British ships. And decided he wanted to go visit America, and he got a hold of the British ambassador in Washington, D.C., and said he wanted to come to visit, maybe go up to Boston and New York and all that. And we said, yeah, fine, you're very welcome. You can stay here at the embassy, etc. So he goes there, and he ends up going to the White House with the British ambassador, who introduces him to Thomas Jefferson. There's a hi, how are you kind of thing,
He met
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. He says, who's that little kid? He goes, that's Thomas More, the Irishman. I go, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, I just thought he was some little kid. Because he was little. And he says, no, he's married and 5 kids, and he works for the British Government. And he's on his way up to New York now, to visit.
Wow.
He says, I love his poetry.
Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's a great song. I love that song. I mean, it's the melody is very old, but the lyrics that we all know and love come from obviously Thomas More. And
he wrote the original lyrics. It was a drinking song that he wrote about a big beer brawl fight between all these guys at Limerick University. And so it was, not military at the time, but Custer had a guy that was a major on his staff in the Civil War named Miles Keogh, who was an Irish immigrant. And anyway, after the Civil War, and the Army gets reduced, including the ranks, Custer's now a lieutenant colonel, and Keogh's a captain, and Custer gets assigned a new cavalry regiment called the 7th Cavalry. So he gets Keogh to be one of his company captains. And they head out to, Fort Lincoln, Nebraska, which is their headquarters. he says, listen, Tito, we need a song for the 7th Cavalry. We need a regimental song. He said, you got any ideas? He goes, well, I do, but, I know you're temperate, and it's a drinking song. And I goes, well, hum it to me, And he goes, he sings, God, I love it. It's great. He says, well, yeah, but you got all these, it's a drinking brawl. He said, yeah, we'll change the lyrics to something more military, which they did. So there's 2 sets of lyrics.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Got them somewhere. Yeah, yeah.
So you were named after your great-grandfather?
Apparently one in each generation, yeah.
I'll be darned.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. My dad and I have different middle names. But we... Because it would probably always be firstborn because you just didn't know if you're going to have any other boys.
True.
Right?
Yep.
Why did you change the name, and where did you get Berenger?
There already was a guy with that name in New York. He was a director on Broadway.
So there was already a Tom Moore.
I was also, he'd been an actor. He was a stage actor, and he was in Actors Equity before me. So we met actually one time at parties. He started laughing. I don't know how he does. But I just took my best friend's last name.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, now.
I thought it was from a bottle of wine.
It's spelled differently, though.
No, seriously. All this time.
You thought he really took it from a bottle of wine?
Yeah, Berenger wine.
No, that's spelled differently, too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is. It's, yeah.
Okay.
See, that name actually, I kind of researched it. Dino De Laurentiis, I met him once, and he goes, what is that name? He's the only person that ever asked me that. And I said, well, the way I spell it is French. I said it was the lead character in Ionesco's play, Rhinoceros. The lead character was called Beranger. And those plays were kind of out there, but it was a kind of interesting character too. It's not a real comedy. It showed up. I saw it was a character in Day of the Jackal, which mostly takes place in France, and there was I saw a character named Beranger in there, or Madame Beranger, or something like that. Then there was a king of Italy after the Roman Empire fell apart. There was a king in northern Italy called Berenger, spelled the same way. There's a Spanish fellow like Juan Berenger, the pitcher, years ago played for Milwaukee, I think, or something. But Guer, the 2 German spellings, and there's an English spelling which is Barringer. But I think it's kind of like Alsace-Lorraine, that area between France and Germany. Is kind of probably where it came from, although you got this guy in Italy that kind of predates everybody else. So,
do we know what it means? Is it like a town or a region, or does it have a meaning? I
don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
It's just one of those names.
Yeah.
It's an interesting name, though. It's got a good ring to it, so good choice. Okay, so Gettysburg.
Congratulations, General. General, I want you to see this. General Lee, it seems like second Manassas all over again. It wouldn't work out any better if we could plan this. The only thing I want done now, if we can take that hill, is have it occupied by nightfall.
Sir, the Federal Army has fallen back to Gettysburg. They are reforming on the ridges outside of town.
Very well. This is almost perfect. Now we got them where we want them. Just move south and east down the road, get between them and Lincoln, find some good high ground, and then they'll have to hit us. They'll have to. And then we have them, General. Then we have them.
You mean disengage?
Well, sir, I've always been under the impression that it was our strategy to conduct a defensive campaign wherever possible in order to keep the army intact.
Well, granted, but the situation has changed now.
In what way?
We've already pushed them back. They're on the run, vacating the town. How can we move off to the south and the east in the face of the enemy? Major Marshal? Yes, I ordered firing on that hill, but there are no cannon firing. Kindly send over and find out why.
Yes, I'll see to it, General.
Thank you. What are you thinking, General?
Maybe we should not have fought here?
I know that, but we have prevailed. The men have prevailed.
Yes, sir, they have always done that. But in the morning, we may be outnumbered, and they'll be entrenched on the high ground.
General, you know as well as I, we have never concerned ourselves with being outnumbered.
That is true, sir. You are right. But if we move south to Washington, they have to pursue us, and then we can fight on ground of our choosing.
But the enemy is here. We did not want the fight, but the fight is here. How can I ask this army to retreat in the face of what they have done this day?
Not retreat, sir. Redeploy.
Our guns will move them off that hill, or you will push them off. But if Meade is there tomorrow, I cannot move this army away. No, sir, I will attack him.
General, if Meade is up there tomorrow, it is because he wants us to attack him. We pushed back 2 corps, but there are 5 more coming. General, I will bring up my boys as soon as I can.
Very well.
How did you end up getting the role of General Longstreet?
I was doing someone to watch over me in New York. We were doing night shooting in Queens. I got a message from the office, the production office, on a break there, lighting break or something. And I had done an interview like a day or two before. I'd done an interview with the Daily News, and it was one of those simple 20 questions, right? Mm-hmm. Which, economically you could answer quickly. And one was, what is your best read book of the year? And I said, oh, that's easy. I said, I think it's 1974 winner of the Pulitzer Prize in Historical Fiction, The Killer Angels by Michael Sharp. And then they went on to the next question. I said, about the Battle of Gettysburg. And they went on to the next question. Mm-hmm. And Ron saw it in the newspaper, Ron Maxwell.
Okay.
And I got the number from the production office in Manhattan. And then I meet him on the west side on a Sunday, day off. I meet him, and we kind of just sat in this, it was almost empty restaurant, just almost empty, very quiet. And we talked and talked and talked. And at the time, I think it was for the part of Chamberlain, and I think he was thinking of Duval for Longstreet.
Yeah,
for Lee. Is that right, Bo?
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
No, and then that changed, of course.
No, it was Duval for Lee.
No, Duval for Lee. It was Duval for Lee.
At that time, that early on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Because Duval wanted to do it. And I think he passed because he got Stalin or something. I forget what the story now. But when I met Ron Maxwell in 1989 at the Cannes Film Festival, right? And that's when he had just a script under his arm called Killer Angels. I remember distinctly when he came back away from his meeting with Tom, though, and he was elated. Yeah. So,
well, here's the thing too, Bo, and I don't remember. It might have been, God, it could have been 2 years later, right? Maybe longer. I don't know. It just it's all in the mist of the past at this point. But I was doing this play. I was doing that play with Kevin Spacey up in New Haven at the Long Wharf Theater, and somebody left a note with me, and I was just getting undressed, and no big hurry. I'm just taking my time. And so I'm in an empty dressing room, and somebody said, there's a guy outside waiting for you named Ron Maxwell. I go, really? Yeah. I go out there, and it's just him. There's nobody in this. He's sitting in a seat, and it's not in the theater, but, outside. Yeah. Like dressing rooms in the lobby, whatever, right? And so I go out there, and I go, hey, it's great. It's a great performance, great play. Really enjoyed that. I go, yeah, it's a killer play. It's super. And he said, well, I just want to know, I'm still working on this. I went, okay, well, that's good to hear. I'm glad you are. And geez, it'd be great. It'd be great if we could do it. I said, it's just so hard to do the Civil War. And it's just such a big thing. It can't be easy. So anyway, that's it. Don't see him. It's like another year or two. And then I'm in L.A. for what reason I don't remember. And then he's there too. And they said, hey, it's a go. Bang. All right. So I talked to him on the phone, and my agent first contacts me. Talk to him on the phone. And then he meets at my hotel, and it's a go. And he said, Ted Turner's doing it.
Yep.
And we're going about. I said, oh, great.
Yeah. If it weren't for Ted, he's the guy. He's the guy that made it happen. I think he was introduced to Ted, as I recall, at a round table somewhere. And I just lost his name.
Who?
The documentary.
Ken Burns.
Ken Burns, I think, introduced him. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Did you? So you had a choice though, didn't you, between what role you got?
Yeah, he asked me then, and I went, "Oh God, you're kidding." He goes, "Yeah, well, what do you prefer?" I go, "Well, I like both of them. Are you kidding?" Geez, I don't know. And I said, "You know what? I guess I have to go with my home state. I got to go with South Carolina."
There you go.
He started laughing. I go, I don't know what else to say. I did that.
As did a lot of actors. Yeah.
So you get the role of Longstreet, and earlier we were talking about doing your homework and everything like that. How much homework did you do on Longstreet aside from reading The Killer Angels?
I don't know. Like I probably 16 books or something like that. Because I had time too as well. And so I just, and it wasn't just Longstreet. It was like, Lee's Generals, which is all of them. I was just reading them from cover to cover, and not just the Battle of Gettysburg either.
Sure.
Second Manassas and Antietam, and all of that.
Do you stop at Gettysburg, or do you read past Gettysburg?
No, I read past it. Yeah,
you read past it. Okay.
Yeah, all the way up to the surrender.
Does that is that just because you were
in his case? You go even after because right. Like, what did he do as a civilian after that?
Yeah. But now, does that help you as an actor to go past the moment in time you're depicting, or is that just more about a curiosity?
No, it does in a way, because when you get to the past thing there, you realize what good friends he was with Grant when they had been roommates for 4 years at West Point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then also, that when they were in the old Army, after they graduated from West Point, and I don't know, lieutenants, or captains, or some lieutenants probably, right?
Yeah, lieutenants.
At this point, I'm thinking, because, your promotions don't go up that quick unless you're in a war. So they were probably still both lieutenants then. And they were in St. Louis, and Longstreet's cousin came up to visit him from Georgia, and he introduced her to Grant, who fell in love with her, and they decided to get married. And Longstreet was their best man, and they had a military wedding with the swords and that whole 9 yards in St. Louis. And then, of course, they separate again. Longstreet ending somewhere up in New Mexico as he's now like Mexican War.
Yep.
They get separated there. And then, did they run into each other in Mexico? I don't recall. I'm not sure if they did or didn't. Interesting side note here, but Pickett ended up being Longstreet's second in command in Mexico when they charged in the last battle there at Chapultepec, Mexico City. Yeah. And Longstreet got injured, handed the flag to Pickett, and went over the top. Yeah. That I find that interesting that those two were there together and just a rank apart kind of thing.
Yeah, and now they're rank apart at Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so at the surrender, when the surrender happened, and Lee and Grant had been doing their discussion, they'd been left alone at this little table, and all the officers on both sides were like standing around in a big circle watching them at a distance, to give them privacy. And then it was done, and Lee got up, put his hat on and saluted or whatever, and then kind of washed off, got on his horse with his staff rider and headed back to say goodbye to his troops. And Longstreet's there on the edge of the crowd, and Grant, caught him on the side of his eye and then calls him over. They sit down where that surrender table was, and they end up playing a game of whist, their favorite card game from college, and then and smoking cigars, which they both liked, and particularly Grant killed him.
Right.
But and then after the war, first of all, he tries to get Longstreet a pardon from President Lincoln. And, Grant was tight with Lincoln, of course, right?
Yeah.
But And Longstreet went up to Washington and met with Lincoln. And he said, no pardon for you, to Jefferson Davis and Robert E. Lee. I can't. He did us too much harm, General. I just can't grant you pardon. Everybody else got it.
Right.
And I don't think it happened until Grant became president. Then Grant gave him a job as head of customs in New Orleans. Then he got another job as ambassador to Turkey because of Grant,
Right.
All these are federal government jobs. And then he got a job, his last job was head of railroads in Georgia.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is
his old buddy.
What's that?
Courtesy of his old buddy.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of that...
and his brother-in-law, almost a brother-in-law, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. A lot of that is also part of the reason why he's one of the villains of the Lost Cause religion.
Yes.
Is because he became a Republican and worked with Grant and all that stuff. And now, when you get the role, you're going to start shooting and stuff. I got to ask this question. They're getting you all set up in your wardrobe and all that jazz, and they put the beard on you, and now everybody is wearing, it looks like most people are wearing fake beards, right? Bo, you were, right? Fake mustache?
Yes.
But
notice how I answered that.
Why was that? Why'd you answer it so
I was supposed to have a mustache and a goatee, and I looked like a kid in a high school play. And I literally walked into Ron's office and said, Ron, this is ridiculous.
Because you grew your own?
No. And I said, goatee. I said, this is ridiculous. Please, don't make me wear this thing. And he goes, yeah, it looks terrible. Just wear the mustache.
Well, it's a wonderful fake mustache. But anyway, Tom, your beard, though, it seems in some scenes it's kind of got a life of its own, and other scenes it's normal and everything like that. Do you get questioned about this beard a lot?
Well, I sometimes, and I know one scene between Steve Lang and I got cut, and he was really pissed off. He's pissed off at the makeup guy, and I asked the makeup guy, I go, Al, I thought, I figured you had a lot of experience with all this. This is like, it's like calling you in for the job here, right? Lots of, there's lots of beards and sideburns and mutton chops and all this kind of stuff going on. And I don't know. I thought for the most part, everybody looked pretty good, but I said, it's just, and he said, I'll be honest with you. He said, remember, originally they said this was for television, like a miniseries.
Right.
And then when he went to the movies, I went, this is kind of a different story.
Because you'll notice. Is that why? Because the screen's bigger? Is that what you're saying?
He was afraid of that. He was afraid of that.
Yeah.
But he said, I thought it was going to be I had no idea it was going to be on the big screen. And I mean, it was on some big ones in New York at the, what's that theater over on the west side? I don't know. It had a huge screen on it.
I mean, originally
you could do Ben-Hur and all that kind of things on that screen. Yeah.
Originally, Ron wanted this famous guy to do beards, and that's the guy he wanted. He battled like crazy with TNT about it, and they just said no, we're not doing it, and that's what hurt. That's what hurt us.
Okay.
Because we had to bring somebody in that really didn't do beards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, and I mean, I had a mustache, so that saved a little time.
That helped.
Right? So you just blend the beard in, and it didn't bother me at the time.
Did you try to grow your own, or was there not enough time?
I didn't have time. A beard like that? Are you kidding? It would have never been long enough.
It's like 5 years. 5 years of growth.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And then the hat too. Longstreet is apparently known for wearing a wide brim hat like that. That's a little bit more of a later style. How did that come into the picture?
Well, it was the costume guy, Mike Boyd, who I thought was great. Really a great guy. Lives down there in Victoria, Texas. He's got his own warehouse and stuff. And he said, you remember him, right, Bo? Mike Boyd? Yeah. And he says, they told me, we don't, all the reenactors got their own uniforms. You don't need to bring them. He goes, I'm going to bring mine anyway. And so he had like 100 extra Confederate uniforms and like 100 extra Union uniforms. And he said, I don't know. You know, he was like, "Bo, I'll believe that when I see it," kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
And no, that's what's great about it too.
Yeah.
Right.
He covers his bases, and he says, it's great they got their own uniforms. We couldn't do this otherwise, you know.
Exactly.
But he said, I used every single one of those reserve uniforms, blue and gray. Every single one.
Okay.
You know. He said, if I had to put production assistants who were in Pickett's charge or something, he put them in uniform.
Okay.
Right?
Yep. Sure.
And they'd have their radio and they'd be in the ranks there. Or, you know what I mean? If it was even those guys, but you had to have them. For whatever reason, you had to have the uniforms just in case of an emergency.
Right.
Or to fill in a few spots in Pickett's charge or something like that. And you know, so that was smart that he did that. He was really good, that guy. And we used him on Rough Riders too.
I remember the suits were having a fit because they wanted to see your face, and they were like, "The hat, it's covering his face."
Right.
They were calling.
The hat. You know, the hat didn't really cover my face. You just had to work
it's the shadows.
with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the shadow was fine though, because it gave, first of all, you didn't get hit with direct light. You know,
right. So you weren't washed out. Yeah.
Yeah. And it gave a really great look, I thought. And also,
no, that's the thing, is it looks great. Yeah, it's a great hat.
He said, and I said, the hat's pretty big, but when I put it on, it looked great. He says, you have a large hat size, 7 5/8.
Me too.
You can get away with this. And he was right.
Yeah. So
I mean, with me, you got to watch out about a hat being too small. It'll look silly.
Well, exactly. I have the same problem. I feel your pain. So there was the wardrobe guy. He had that hat, and just it worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought so. Yeah.
You know, you could buy that hat. A local hat maker now makes the Longstreet hat that you can go into the store and get.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
No, and he does a really good job of it too. I've been tempted to buy it, but I put it on me, and it's just, if I had the beard, it would, and hair, you know, because I shave my head. So
well, that's the other thing that Mike said. He said, because you're going to look like a lion with all this stuff going on. And I went, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. No, Mike thought about it. He gave it a lot of thought.
No, I think it's cool. I think
it wasn't cool. Like a choice between this one or that one. I went, you're right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, no. So we got those out of the way. The hat and the beard questions. So when you get to shooting, though, so you guys, you know, you have some shared scenes together and everything like that. First of all, was it as hot as it looked?
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys were here all through the summer, basically.
Yeah.
And where did you end up staying? Were you in a hotel, or would you have trailers, or what?
Well, I ended up, they rented a house for me outside of town in a gated community. And then I was no fun. I was isolated from everybody. So I moved into the Gettysburg Hotel.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Walking distance to several pubs. And
absolutely.
How about you, Tom? Where did you stay? Do you remember?
I had gone up with my assistant, Stevie, who's also in the movie, and may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
But we went up there before the shooting and just sort of snuck into town. I don't know, whatever. I don't even remember where we stayed exactly, but it might have been the place I ended up staying during the shoot. But there was a hotel on the south end of town, at the other end of the Chambersburg. I mean, not Chambersburg Pike, the
Baltimore Pike,
Emmitsburg Road.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Going down towards Maryland.
Gotcha. Emmitsburg Road. Yep. Mm-hmm.
What was it?
Emmitsburg Road. You got it.
Emmitsburg Road. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know whether that was the Ramada Inn or something like that.
There's changed now.
There's a Quality in there.
Yeah.
Now, right on the battlefield. Like, it's like basically the last building on that side of the street, if that's what you're talking about.
No, I don't think it was that close. I think it was a little bit further down.
Weren't you across from that?
I know where. No, you were staying at the Eisenhower. It's called the Eisenhower Inn and or sports complex or something like that. It's like it's like a standalone hotel in the middle of nowhere, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the. It's called the Eisenhower.
They must have changed the name.
Maybe. It looks like it might have been a Ramada at one point. Yeah. So so that's where you are.
Yeah, and I also decided that we would use, because I went in there and checked all this stuff out. We were in town a few days and stuff, and we met the owner of the Farnsworth house, whose name escapes me. I think
Loring.
Lauren, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lauren, yep.
Schultz.
And that's it, Lauren Schultz. And then his son was the bartender, or his son-in-law, I should say.
Okay.
He was the bartender in the bar there. So they had the restaurant, the bookstore, the gallery, and the bar. Right? Restaurant, bookstore, gallery, bar. Yeah. All in that little complex on Baltimore Street. Yeah.
Still do.
Yep. Yes, they do.
Yeah. and I said, Stevie, this is going to have to be the officers club for the Army of Northern Virginia. And we proclaimed it, and we put up a sign. I mean, the first week we were there, we had a sign, and then eventually that sign, I think, signed it.
Yeah, it's hanging on the wall to this day.
Yeah, it's still there, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff there.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, and it got to the point where they go, listen, we'll close it to you guys, on Friday, Saturday night. We'll close it to you, like private party kind of thing, put a sign on, blah, blah, blah. And I go, yes, keep out the battlefield riffraff. Yes. He said, the only thing I ask is that the Rangers and the historians be allowed. I go, yes, we know all of them. They're like our friends now, Yes, they're fine.
Yeah.
I go, what if there's just three of us in here one night? I mean, what do you want to be, like alone? Yes, bring them in.
Right.
Yeah. He says, good. Yeah. Because they're my regular patrons too. I said, yeah, and they just played all of the old songs, Civil War songs, it's on a constant, thread going around. Yeah.
That was
I've heard some stories from Bo and Patrick Gorman. You kind of were like the leader of the Confederate actors. Did you? They were telling me about swords that you got them all.
Well, yeah, but I also had that for. I had it for the Yankee characters too.
Oh well, don't ruin it for them, Tom.
Yeah, I had. Yeah. But I had because I know I did, for the Yankee characters.
Not all of them. I mean, just the top.
No,
ones.
and then Kevin Conway, who played the Irish sergeant, I got a little figurine, like a handmade figurine of a Yankee soldier that kind of looked like him.
Yeah,
kind of looked like him in his uniform and stuff, and I gave that to him. But the swords were for all the other guys.
So what did you with the swords? Where'd you get that idea, and where did you get the sword? Are these reproductions or?
Well, yeah, they're reproductions, and they're all the muskets and the swords are all reproductions, and the bayonets. I don't know how much more of the equipment, but they're made in India, and they're well made. They're not horribly expensive, but they're well made.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they seem like the real thing almost, except the blades aren't sharpened. You'd have to do that on a honing stone or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you had them engraved.
It was great. Everybody got a kick out of it, and it kind of got us, off on a great start there.
It really did. That was a great idea.
Yeah.
It was a great idea.
And Ted Turner was thrilled to get his.
Yeah, you got one for Ted. That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He goes, oh my God, Jane, look at this. Look at this.
Yeah. He was so pumped. Did it have a pearl handle or something? Or
No, it was like
really a nice, yeah.
It was infantry, infantry of the line sword, it's like artillery was a little different, and then there's sabers for cavalry, et cetera, but whatever.
I think you were telling me that you were instrumental in getting Ted Turner to have his famous cameo as he leads his men over the fence during Pickett's charge.
Yes, I had. He has an island. I was living in, Beaufort, South Carolina, and he has an island off the coast there. And one of the guys told me his brother-in-law ran the island for him, and had a boat that he'd take groceries and supplies and stuff over and come back, because there's no bridge there. And somehow or another, he got I don't know, an early dinner. It was still light out and everything got organized, and I don't know how far before, but I don't know how many months before it was. My wife and I went over there and had dinner with Ted and Jane, and we're at the dinner table, and he was all excited, and we're talking and eating and everything, and he's all excited about it. And so I could see he was just thrilled, like a kid. He was just so excited, and he'd read the book, I don't know, a couple times in the script, et cetera, et cetera. So, and he said, in his excitement, he said, Berenger, I always wanted to die in Pickett's charge. I said, say what? He said, I always wanted to die in Pickett's charge. I said, well, why don't you? And he said, say what? Say what? I said, why don't you die in Pickett's charge? And now, at this point, a hand is hitting me under the table, the side of my leg. It's Jane. And he goes, well, geez, how do you do something like that? The hand hits me again. I'm knocking the hand away under the table. Leave me alone.
What are you doing?
And I said, we just, all right, for example, we put you in as a colonel. You're leading a regiment of infantry. You're leading a charge across the open fields towards the Emmitsburg Road and the Dutch fence there on the Emmitsburg Road.
Right.
And I said, yeah, as guys are starting to climb over it and everything, and you maybe, I don't know, get on the fence, or right before you get on it, you come on, boys, give them the cold steel. And get up a step, bang, you get shot. And in the heart. And you got one line, come on, boys, give them the cold steel.
Yeah.
So, and he goes, whoa. I go, yeah. He goes, you think we can do this? And I said, well,
yeah.
You're the producer. I'm kind of the lead Confederate. I think we could work this out. He says, how long do you think that takes?
Yes,
Meanwhile, I'm beating her hand away again. He says, how long do you think this would take? I go, okay. He goes, that long? I go, well, no, look, here's the deal. You'd have to fly, first of all, know what day we're shooting it. I said, secondly, you fly in the day before. We get you in your uniform. We give you a pistol, a sword, etc., blah, 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 right? And I said, let your beard grow for a week. It doesn't have to be full beards like all these guys got and stuff, because some didn't. But I said, but it looks like you've been on the march from Virginia and haven't had time to shave. Just keep marching, Yep. And here you are going right into battle. I said, well, that would be a great look. And I said, you're slender anyway, so perfect. Yeah. And he said, I go, yeah, we'll get all that taken care of, the costume, we'll get your size and stuff. And I said, then you shoot your thing. And if you want to hang around another day, because I knew how impatient he kind of is, he's always in a hurry and flying here and flying there. And it's always been like that. But he actually did stay 3 days. He had a hell of a time.
He had a ball.
Remember they had
Jane riding horses on set and into the mess hall.
Oh, so she was here too?
Yeah.
I think there was another story of you guys are at dinner, and she was just kind of enthralled with how into it you guys are, or something. Do you remember?
Well, it was the dinner was at what's that place? The Stone, the big
Dobbin House.
Dobbin House. Right?
Dobbin's House, yeah, the one that built the year of the Revolution.
Yep.
And that's where the dinner was, and it was great and stuff. And so we're there, and we're all we're singing the rebel songs, like the Bonnie Blue Flag, and stuff like that. And Jane says to me, she said, boy, you guys are really, I go, I go, honestly, it was the same thing on Platoon. Really? I go, yeah. I said, you get a bunch of guys together and they're doing a war film or a sports film.
Yep.
Look out.
Yeah,
It's Boys Town.
Give a bunch of guys swords, guns, and horses and see what happens.
Yeah, it's Boys Town.
Yeah. I would imagine. Wouldn't know, but I would imagine.
I go, wow. Yeah.
Well,
I said,
that was the
it's been
South.
fun.
Now. That was the South story. The North story was a little different.
They were a little more boring.
And you know what? I mean, I don't know who said it in Gettysburg. They said it was the big, the big boring blue. They came in to Farnsworth with their little, I've got to read my script tonight, or I'm reading this great novel, and
really,
I'll just have an iced tea, non-sweetened, with a little, they're like. Everybody was,
and then you got Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott would join us at the bar, but that's because his cavalry on the first day they overlapped.
Yeah,
they overlapped us. Yeah.
But the South was shot first.
Well, Buford was from Kentucky anyway.
We were gone when the blue got here, basically.
Yeah.
And, and everybody was so disappointed. They're like, "Oh, these guys suck." They don't have much to say.
So like, can you guys just come back to hang out?
They're not loud. They're not boisterous. They're not. They're just like
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame.
And that was a bunch of people from Gettysburg told me this.
Yeah. Well, that's...
you know what? You're right, Bo. They did say that. I heard that too. I got some feedback on that. I totally forgotten about all that, but it's true. They did say that. I go, ooh. Yeah,
I love Jeff. I love Jeff. Jeff Daniels. He's a great guy, but he's not the most exciting guy at a party. I'll tell you.
Right. Okay. Sure. Yeah.
He's very subdued,
very serious,
quiet, and and I think he set the temperament for the whole
for everybody else.
Side.
Yeah. Yeah, well, right, because I guess besides Sam Elliott, at the time he was the big star on the Union side, right?
He and
C. Thomas Howell, they had both been pretty known at that time. But as far as I'm trying to think of who else was on the
Jeff.
No, that's what I just said.
That was it.
Sam Elliott, Jeff, and C. Thomas Howell were the big hitters over on the...
And it's so funny, I can say this now, but when TNT wanted Jeff Daniels, I said, I was like, no way, man. He's a comedian. He's, Ron, please don't go there. This guy is, he's just not, I don't think he's going to bring it, And Ron felt the same thing. He felt the same way. He flew to Michigan and auditioned him before he would give a go. When he came back from Michigan, he was like, Bo, this guy he's good. He's great. He's terrific. He's gonna blow you away on this role. And he did. He was terrific.
He did.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
You mentioned in the town and what you've heard locals say and everything like that. To this day, people who were here at that time love to tell stories of when the movie company came to town and all the actors were hanging out at the Farnsworth house and everything like that. Do you have any particular memories yourself, Tom, of any interactions, interesting people that you might have met who were locals? Let me get my cricket sound effects.
No, Loring was interesting to me. He was telling me that that his ancestors, they were from there. They were like Pennsylvania Dutch or something. Mm-hmm. But he was from West Virginia, and he said so and so fought on the north, so and so fought for the south, because it was a border state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where he was from originally. But it's when we had Armistead's family come and visit.
That's right, and a descendant of Lee came to visit.
Yep. And then the girl, the young girl, was probably, I'm guessing, around maybe 18, 19 or something like that, with her mother. And she was a direct descendant of Pocahontas.
Wow.
Really?
And then Armistead as well.
Pocahontas and Armistead?
Yeah, they were from Virginia, both.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what did they do? They just came to visit you guys?
Well, they were invited up. They were invited up by Ron, I think.
Oh, okay.
They had like a little lunch or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Jeff came to visit, and
Jeff Daniels?
Shara.
Oh, Jeff Shara, okay.
Who now lives here.
Right, yes.
He's taken up... Did you know that, Tom?
They what?
He's taken up residence here. He lives here.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. Mm-hmm.
Full time.
Yeah.
How often have you been up here since the movie? Tom.
Who, Bo?
No. Bo's
about
been here for months.
You've been there about 100 times, haven't you, Bo?
Yeah, well,
he could be considered battlefield riffraff at this point.
I know. I was only here 3 times before after the movie. And then I came back for the reunion. And then I started coming back.
Right. Yeah.
After the reunion 2018.
Yes, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, that's where you first did this show, and you said, man, I have to keep coming back there to hang out with this guy.
No, I just it's such a great little town. I love it here. The people are great. The town. So
it's an awesome little town.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Texas, but I come back and forth.
Yeah. You actually come up here to be in the cold, whereas I'm asking you to let me watch your house down there in the warmth of Texas.
75 in Houston today. Yeah. So.
Okay, so during the shooting, you have all these battle scenes. I've always wondered, how it looks so difficult to coordinate all of those people and all of those movements, camera movements. You have how many cameras? Like, say for Pickett's charge, I mean, would they have 5 cameras or something going, or more than that? Do you remember?
They had.
Gosh,
I kind of hard to remember, but they had, and they also had the helicopter shots. The Dutch guy that was the DP,
Case van Ostrom. Case.
Yeah, Case, right, and he had. That was the first time I ever saw little helicopters, remote helicopters with cameras in it.
Yeah.
Tom, I thought that...
Kind of like a drone now.
Right.
It's like a drone now, but you think back, and the only thing I could think of was they're going to cut somebody's head off. This was a miniature helicopter that was very big.
Yeah.
Because it had to hold a 35 millimeter camera, which is pretty heavy.
Uh-huh.
And they were flying right over the heads of people. And I thought, man, this could be remember the Twilight Zone disaster?
Right.
I was just like cringing the whole time. And
because they're remote controlled.
Yes.
They're not manned.
No, they're remote controlled. And I thought, and with all there were bombs going off from the ground that shoot up the dust and the stuff. And I thought, this is a replay of the Twilight Zone in the 1980s. What are they doing? You
can actually see in one of the shots. I can't remember if it's when it's flying. Well, it's flying over the artillery all going off.
Right.
But I think it's as one of the cannon right near it blows, you can actually see it shake the helicopter. Like the shot actually shakes.
The percussion, that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah. So I don't blame you. Like, it just gets.
Ron didn't care. He was like, "So what if we lose some heads? Look at the shot we're gonna get."
Right. We have thousands more. So they got to coordinate all that stuff. Now, Tom, like, while the Pickett's charge stuff is going on, and you have those conversations with Alexander and Pickett and all that. Do they film those? They film those separate from all the big action, obviously. But I mean, do they film them on even the same day, or are those separate days that you come in? Because I always thought, the editing together a battle scene with all these different storylines playing out during the battle has got to be really tough, and shooting wise and all that. Go ahead.
Well, I can say the scene with Alexander. Colonel Alexander was like, I have one right before the battle, and I think in the background you see a couple of cannons sort of being unlimbered or something like that, and I tell him, give him more or less the plan, the orders.
Sir, gave the torn trousers, sir. An officer riding around like this. Colonel Alexander. Those federal cannon up on that little rocky hill could cause us some trouble. I want you to sign some guns and keep them silent. Then, you move forward with the infantry advance, keeping the flanks clear. Porter, how old are you, son?
Sir, I'm 28, sir.
Uh-huh. Well, Porter, we must also clear those guns off that low center ridge right there. That is the main thing.
Yes, sir.
I'm relying on you, son.
Sir, yes, sir. I'll sure keep shooting, sir.
Good, good. I want you to use everything you have. Maximum effort. Fire all your long-range ordnance, but don't open up till I give the word and everything's in position. Then fire with everything you got. I don't want to see a single gun silent. Find yourself a good observation point, check damage. We must clear those people off that ridge. If we don't... Anyway, you let me know when you're nearing the end of your ammunition. We must conserve enough to support the infantry attack. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
And then I come back again in the middle of the bombardment.
Yes.
Where we're yelling back and forth to each other. And I guess you had to see some cannons fired back there.
Yeah.
Because we certainly had the noise. I mean, why not?
Right.
So they must have been firing, as I recall.
Yeah.
They were
those.
Yeah.
Those were
a separate day.
They're before the infantry charge.
Yeah.
So, and there's no reason for me to go out there again after, because I say, once they pass you, cease fire.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you don't want to fire on your own men.
Right.
But, give it everything you got. And then I'm there and he's going, we're having trouble getting the caissons up with the ammo and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And I just do it. So on and so forth.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Yeah, I think that's where aren't you going like, damn, like you're just getting frustrated. Yeah, that's one of my favorite deliveries of the word damn. It is. I don't, because you could just,
frankly, my dear, I don't give it.
It's second to
same war, different movie.
So how long were you here for, Tom, to film your part? Were you here the whole time, or?
I think it was 6 weeks, and I stayed maybe an extra week. Stevie and I stayed because I wanted to watch the cavalry stuff with Sam Elliott's cavalry, on the first day of battle, the opening of the battle. Yeah.
So you were around for that? Yeah. Some of the more famous scenes that I know among the fans always is made a reference to are the scenes with Hood. This should have gone around to the right at the hospital and all that. Just give me some memories of that, working with Patrick Gorman in those scenes, because he's been on the show.
Well, I think there was a nice relationship between Hood and Longstreet. It had been, from the beginning of the war up until then and everything. And Longstreet himself is frustrated because he wanted to go around to the right. And we see him telling that to Lee. And I think he just kind of loses it there when Hood keeps talking and complaining and, and gesticulating and whatnot. And he says, listen, I have talked to the commanding general 3 times about this, and he said no.
Look here. The ground is strewn with boulders. The soldiers up there are entrenched all over the ground, and their guns in the rocks. Every move I make is observed. If I attack as ordered, I'll lose half my division, and they'll still be looking down the throats at us from that rocky hill right there. We must move around to the right, sir, and take them from the rear.
Sam, the commanding general will not allow a flanking movement around those hills. I argued it yesterday. I argued it all morning. Hell, I've been arguing against any attack at all. I can't call this one off. You know it.
Let me move up the big round hill to the south. There's nobody on that. Now, if I could get a battery up there,
There ain't enough time. You'd have to cut down trees to place your artillery. It'd be dark before you were in action. On the other hand, if they get batteries up there, well, we're gonna need buckets to catch the lead. You gotta take that hill.
They don't even need guns to defend that. All they need to do is roll rocks down on you.
Just take it.
General, I do this under protest.
Sam, you are the best I got. Now, sir, if you are ready, why don't you take that hill?
Yeah.
So, in military terms, that's end of argument.
Right.
And I say, you have your orders, do it. Get your men. Well, I do it under protest. Fine, just do it.
Right. Who cares if you're doing it?
And I mean, it's not. I'm not mad at him. I'm as frustrated as he is.
Sure.
Here we are in this situation that's concerning both of us. Doomed, tactically and also, strategically. And so I'm as frustrated as he is.
Yeah.
But I have to take my orders, and he has to take mine. That's the way it works.
Right.
Yep.
Now, my favorite thing about movies is the behind-the-scenes stuff, especially bloopers. Gaffes or whatever. So, do you have any memories of those? Any good behind-the-scenes flubs or anything that you could think of?
It cost the production a lot of money.
Yeah, that wasted a lot of film.
When you're shooting 35, so you've got a Technocrane that follows me from Lee's tent down a hill to Longstreet's tent with all of his generals standing there, and I walk up to say, 1 line, and everybody's looking cross-eyed at me.
And why are they looking cross-eyed at you?
That was so funny. I went, General, and I'm looking at everybody and go, Lee, we'd like to see you. And Ron Maxwell, God, what the hell? What is that? What is that? Like, they're making faces at me. You have this Technocrane that goes up the hill first, because you've got these horses running by, troops going from one side, then this, these
prisoners being marched to the rear.
Right.
Yeah. Mule teams pulling ammo wagons. There's another one. Try turning one of those around. Right. How long is that going to take? Turn that thing around and go back, and then turn it around again to go do the scene over.
Right.
Yeah.
Big pain in the butt.
Oh, that was a huge huge scene to mess up on, especially with, I think, one line. So
right.
Yeah, that was.
And what was the line? Do you remember what the line was supposed to be?
General Lee would like to speak with you.
So you go to General Longstreet. You say, General Longstreet,
General Longstreet.
Yeah.
General Longstreet, General Lee would like to see you in his quarters.
Yeah.
And what couldn't you get about that?
Tom making faces at me.
That's what Bo declared to the press. But no, the truth is, he just went up. He wasn't focused, and he just went up on his line.
I said,
and then as those things, as they often do, just keep getting worse.
Yeah.
And then you hear, cut. It's Ron. You can't see him. We can't see him. He's up in a crane somewhere, like behind us or some shit. And it's like, we're over. I don't know. It says, God, Bo, what the hell is the matter with you? Right? Because I'm sorry, Ron. We'll get again. All right. Back to 1.
But I said, my response
all the Yankee prisoners got to be marched 100 yards back to where they started. The mule team has to turn around and go back, Then they got to turn around, face forward. There's some Confederate troops moving up this way and that. And then all the generals are like, oh, okay. They're all in the hot sun. They're watching Major Sorrell do this briefing. And it's like, we do it again. And then he said something like,
I called you General Lee.
Major Taylor. Oh, God. Oh. He says his own name as he announced it. I am Major Taylor. Same as anyone? And now it's like, it is like, God, all right, back to 1. Jesus, right? Everybody starts rolling back. This takes time. Yep. This is the big crane shot of the movie.
And it was a oneer. It was all a oneer,
And then we do it again. Yeah. Then it's all in one shot too. There's no cuts, nothing. Got to get this thing right. And then And then he comes in the third time, and he looks at me, and he starts laughing. And I go, oh, for God's sakes.
That's when Ron said, Bo, you're killing me.
So this is why when someone messes up in these bloopers, they always say sorry, because it's all these people have to go back to one.
Oh yeah.
So you're making everybody do it all over again.
And when you're shooting 35, it's really expensive.
Sure. Well, that's the other thing, because how many minutes is a roll of 35 millimeter film?
Let's see.
Was it like 10?
Remember? I don't remember.
12?
It's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
No.
Thank you, General. Sirs, the federal position was scouted during the last several hours. We've drawn it up here. Now, this is the situation. The position of the federal army is in the shape of a fish hook. Now, it starts right here. You see these two hills? This one here and the one with the cemetery. That is where they have concentrated their troops. The hook starts there. Now, it curves round and comes down this low ridge to the south, ending before two round hills of higher elevation. The Federals have no troops on those two hills.
Here I am, Major.
Thank you, sir. We now know that General Hancock is in charge of the Union Center. And there are perhaps 60 to 70,000 men already in position. Perhaps as high as 90.
I spoke with General Ewell of your suggestion that we move around to the right to flank the Federal Army. And he is of the opinion that withdrawing from Gettysburg, giving it back to the enemy, would be very bad for morale, is unnecessary. It might even be dangerous. You disagree? We must attack. Of course, I would prefer not to fight upon this ground, but every moment we delay, the enemy uses to reinforce himself. We cannot support ourselves for long in this country, and we must not allow the Federal Army to move around behind and cut us off from home. No, sir. We must strike him now. We pushed him yesterday, and he will remember it. The men are ready, and they are eager. I see no useful alternative. Yes, sir. Very well.
Gentlemen?
Sir.
Gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning, all.
Morning, sir.
Longstreet will attack on the right with the 1st Corps. Hill will support with Heath in reserve. Ewell's people on the left will demonstrate to keep the enemy from reinforcing against our right flank.
Yes, sir, but I still don't have Pickett. He's at the rear of the column, a full day's march. All I got is Hood and McLaws.
But I do believe that Hood and McLaws' divisions will be sufficient.
With the General's permission.
General Hood.
Moving in front of those rocky heights, we'll have enfilade fire coming down on us.
Perhaps, but not for long. Your division will be up over this unoccupied hill, the little rocky one. From there, you will threaten the enemy flank. When you are heavily engaged, General Ewell will strike from the left.
Very well, sir.
General?
Let's move out, gentlemen.
Sir.
General Barksdale?
Yes, sir.
Is Mississippi ready for this day?
Mississippi's ready.
Very well, sir.
Let's go to it, Sam.
Well, if he's right, General Lee, and the war's over by sundown.
We'll see. But I don't like going in without Pickett. It's like going in with one boot off. I'll wait as long as I can.
You have any idea of the force?
Yeah, we counted 5 corps, including the 2 that were involved in yesterday's action. That don't mean how many might be hidden behind those hills there. And damn it, with Stewart gone, ain't no way of telling for sure. Hey, Sam, you take good care of yourself today, you hear?
You too, Pete.
How about horses? You're dealing with a lot of horses in this movie. Anybody take a spill or anything like that?
Horses are the best actors on the set.
Yeah,
they hit their mark every time.
Right. They run when they're supposed to.
We had one incident. What was the guy? Applegate. What was his name? His first name, Tom. Really.
Who?
Royce.
Oh, Royce.
God rest his soul. Royce Applegate.
General
Kemper.
One of my brigade commanders.
General Kemper.
Yeah, yeah. And he was riding up to camp. He was not a horseman.
Right.
And he's riding up to camp, and the saddle wasn't cinched well enough.
Ooh.
And as he's riding,
that could happen to anybody. I saw that happen on a couple times on Hatfields and McCoys. I was furious, boy.
Oh man, yeah, man, it's amazing that he wasn't stepped on, but you could just see him riding towards us, and all of a sudden he just starts slowly going over, and a gallop, and he wound up under the horse, but didn't get stepped.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. So he went right off.
Here's one for you. There's this scene where I'm at the hospital. Hood's in there in surgery, and I don't know whether I've just gone in to see him or right before I go in to see him in a barn, one of those Pennsylvania Dutch barns. That's the hospital,
right?
And in the yard are all these amputees. And there's body parts being, arms and legs and stuff being dumped into a big container, et cetera, et cetera. There was a team of mules. I guess this was an ambulance, right? Had a little cover over it for the sun, and it's like a buckboard with mules to use as a field ambulance. That's sitting over there empty. All of a sudden, these explosions go off. It's like Union artillery or something from, Pickett's or the second day of battle or something like that. I don't know. And anyway, all these explosions go off. They're coming from Little Round Top or something.
Okay.
And they're like rockets and things, like bursting and stuff. The mules go crazy. They start running for this group of guys. These are like real amputees. They got. They're laying in this yard, and this mule team and buckboard. These 6 mules in this buckboard are heading for them. And this one guy, like not the head of the Wranglers, but kind of the big number 2 guy. Butch was his name. Remember him, Bo?
Yep, I sure do.
Butch.
Yeah, I did a couple of films with him. Yeah.
Really nice guy. He looked kind of like a big middle linebacker or something. Kind of like Dick Butkus or something. Yeah, right?
That's right.
And he saw those mules bolt after this explosion, and they were running right for the guys, and he ran and did a rolling block underneath them.
What? Wow.
Yeah. All these mules just tripped over him.
Yeah, really?
I did not know that one. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And the wagon, I think, turned over or something. But it's like he didn't get hurt.
Oh, jeez.
All the mules were fine. None of them broke a leg or anything. All right? None of the guys, the Confederate amputees, none of them got hurt. And he gets up and dusts himself off. And I go, that was smashing, Bush. That was just incredible. I know, it was. It was one of the coolest things I ever saw.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
So all of you guys kept to your saddles? You didn't fall off or anything? Bo, you stayed on?
Tom? My horse slipped down in a shot. It's like one take I did with Colonel Alexander come riding up, and he's there, and he's being shot in profile. He's stationary looking through his binoculars. And I'm supposed to roll up and be right next to him, but slightly behind, just so the camera can see him, but see both of us in profile.
Right.
So I come rolling up, and my horse slips in the early morning dew, which is on the grass, and that grass was deep, and he just slips. But
he kept his footing.
It was like, nope.
No?
He went down on his side, but it was like slow motion. The horse didn't get hurt. I kind of leaped off sideways. I was fine, and nothing happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because
I went on the shot. I went out of frame, so they had that for outtakes.
There is a shot though, I think, that made it into the final cut where your foot or your horse seems to trip a bit, but nobody goes down. You keep, he keeps his footing and you keep in the saddle. But I thought it was that shot, but I guess not.
No. This is one where I'm going up and I'm coming to a stop, and he just happened to slip in that. The grass.
Gotcha.
The grass was like not knee high, but over ankle high.
What was
anyway?
Yeah.
And I just fell out of frame, which they put in the outtakes.
And speaking of outtakes, what was the prank you pulled on the head honchos with the dailies?
Yeah, we did this scene. I don't know if you were there, Bo. You might have been. It was I come riding up with my staff to Lee's staff. So you two must have been there, you and Marshall, right? And I said, General Lee, Pickett's men have broken through the Yankee Center. I said, they're in retreat. Jeb Stewart's cavalry are rounding up prisoners in the rear. It's like it's on to Washington, and Lincoln will be my prisoner. Well, that's very good, General. Very good. Right?
Very well.
and we sent that to the people at TNT for them to see. They wanted to see all the dailies every day, so we sent that. Yeah,
I have a picture. Go ahead.
The South won the Battle of Gettysburg.
Yeah,
we've rewritten it.
Oh God!
There's somebody took a pic. One of the photographers. I brought him over, and I took my sword. And Marty's sitting on his horse, we're just waiting for a take, and I'm behind him on my horse, and I have this picture of me thrusting a sword in his back, and he's just sitting there like daydreaming, and I've got this, I'm like, my sword is an inch from his back, and I've got this, like I'm yelling, I got to dig that up somewhere.
Yeah.
I showed it to Marty. He could not stop laughing. He thought it was so funny.
You need to put that in the Farnsworth house.
I know. I need to dig through.
You need to donate some stuff to the Farnsworth house.
I have a lot.
The Farnsworth Museum. The Farnsworth Museum. Because they got a museum there now. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
They have a memorabilia collection that can rival John John's, which I plan to steal one day. Because he just has his in his basement.
I know. Yeah, for his own personal little weirdness.
We're just going to distract him and go in and steal it all.
We all know John. He's a good guy.
Yeah. But, so having played Longstreet, would you say that's one of your favorite roles, or?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was just thrilled to be in it. As an American, it was an important story, and I knew it would be fun.
Yeah,
for God's sakes, yeah. And it was, and memorable, and to have been there, like just the Pickett's Charge thing was like, I must have had 12 or 13 people visiting to watch that.
Oh, same here. I did too.
New York, D.C., and South Carolina, they all came to watch. And they said, oh my God, that's incredible. They were taking pictures. I said, go up that's electrician's ladder. There's nobody using it. Go ahead, get up there and film it,
Yeah.
Okay, great, Yeah.
There were a couple of another interesting thing we talked about was An Occasional Hell, which is a movie that you, Bo, and Stephen Lang made together. A few years later.
Dobby.
And Robert Dobby, that's right, yes.
Don Davy.
Who a lot of you might remember him as one of the Fratelli brothers in The Goonies. A lot of my generation would remember him as that. Was it Fratelli? Yeah, Fratelli. And so the interesting thing about that movie is it's a murder mystery, and right in the beginning, Stephen Lang gets murdered with a musket. And, and then so that got me thinking, well, the three of you guys are in this movie. There must be some kind of weird connection to Gettysburg, or somehow this is like related in some way. Is it?
No, but we certainly recognize a musket.
And the Civil War history.
Yeah, we knew it was Civil War vintage. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And there wasn't the character. Was the dead guy was
he was
Civil
a buff.
War buff.
Yeah. Yeah, but there. I don't know. There was like one scene where he picks up the woman, his mistress, and he puts on a kepi. And it just doesn't make. I don't know. And I'm like, it's got to be like a tip of the hat to their Gettysburg connection or something. I don't know. But also, go ahead, Tom.
No, I don't think so.
No.
It was just a coincidence.
That was one of the first ones that you. Is that the first movie you produced?
Yeah.
When you did First Corps Endeavors or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's that. Okay, that was another thing I noticed right at the beginning of First Corps Endeavor. Was it Endeavors or Productions?
What was it, Tom?
Endeavors.
Yeah, that was another thing I noticed was
which, by the way, means you tried.
It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
I tried to do that. Yeah. And by the way, another scene in there with Bo, Robert Davi, and myself. Oh my God! It was like what deja vu.
Yeah.
And Bo starts laughing, right? And Davi and I already have a problem with that because Davi and I cannot work together, right?
Right.
And Jeffrey Jones and I cannot work together. It's not because they're not good actors.
No.
It's just that we can't keep a straight face.
Oh,
we start laughing. It's unstoppable. The director throws his hands in the air. The sound guy throws his earmuffs down on the floor. It's like, just can't get through the scene. Don't have enough discipline or control to keep from doing it. And here you got Davi and Bo and I in the same scene.
Oh, man. I laughed. In that movie, I laughed so much. So much. That was so much fun. Yeah.
The scene you're talking about is outside of the victim's wife's house in the front.
On
the front lawn.
At the corner of the house.
Yeah. I found this movie. I found it on YouTube, so anybody that wants to go and watch it, that's the scene that they're talking about.
Ms. Lawton, Detective Abbott would like to ask you a few questions, but you're not obliged to answer unless you're feeling up to it.
No, I'm all right.
What time you go to bed last night?
11:30. I don't really know.
You keep all your doors, windows locked up?
Everything.
Where do you keep your cat at night?
Wandering the house, I guess. She has a litter box in the pantry.
Any prints?
Mm-mm.
Okay, thank you. Detective Brown and I take a stroll around. Maybe we could find some footprints. Later.
Let's go find some footprints.
It's actually, I enjoyed it.
It's a good little movie.
Yeah.
But it's just and Bo, that's the one where the writer, we said, you have got to solve this thing. Is like a Chinese puzzle gone awry.
Yes.
Right? Like a Rubik's cube that could never be solved. And I said, this is, and Davi like read the book. Every time he had time off, he was going over it, trying to solve the mystery. Right?
Yeah.
Solve the mystery of the mystery.
Yeah.
And he says, we got to have the writer. Well, the writer came in with his wife, like maybe his kid or something, and he enjoyed Charleston and the nice restaurants and all that. But I think he couldn't do it. Yeah. He couldn't solve his own story. And he said, I'm just burnt out. That's what he told the director. I'm burnt out. I can't do it.
You just don't want to hear that from a writer when you're in the middle of the
movie. Yeah.
I just can't. I give up. I can't do it. I'm burnt out.
Well, I'm trying
to
remember.
Going to the restaurants, though.
Yeah, the great restaurants. Oh,
I'm trying to remember what the end of the movie was. I can't remember how it ended. How did it end? Who? It was the redneck guy that killed him.
Yeah.
But why?
And put them in the septic tank or something. Yeah.
Put the girl in the septic tank.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
don't know. It was weird. Ladies and gentlemen, you just got to go and watch it.
It's fun. Yeah. It's fun. And Tom's great in it.
You all are great in it, and it's fun to watch the three of you together in a movie that's not Gettysburg, because
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an interesting little thing.
Yeah, I remember one scene like in a coffee shop, and Davi's like talking to me, and I'm looking away or down at my coffee and a donut.
Yes, I remember.
I'm like just picking off little pieces of my donut and eating them because I can't look them in the eyes. When I have a line, I say it to the donut.
What is it about him that cracks you up so much?
Oh, gosh. What is it?
Can you say what it is?
Don Davi. I had lunch with him not long ago at Jerry's Famous Deli. That's where he holds court these days, or did before.
Was it New York?
L.A.
Yeah.
But
tell him not to watch that movie or I'll go crazy.
He's doing. You know what he's doing now? More than acting is Frank Sinatra.
Oh yes,
and he's good.
Yes,
he tours.
Let me tell you, he sang opera for me once.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I'm sitting there and he's singing an aria. And I said, my God, that's beautiful. What in Italian, right? And I said, what? Jesus, are you? He says, no, I trained as an opera singer when I was a kid. I went, you're shitting me. That's incredible.
He's a huge.
I mean, I'm wondering if he's ever done it in a movie.
The Goonies.
He should.
He
did?
Yeah, he didn't do it seriously. It was just one little part where they kidnap the kid and he starts singing opera in the car. But yeah, I mean, he and he's good.
He's really talented, very talented.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me what cracks you up about him. It's top secret.
No, it's not any one thing.
It's just like him. that unspeakable thing that people have between them. They just start laughing when they see each other. Another great one, Tom, is, and I got to mention, this was Teddy Roosevelt in Rough Riders.
The time has arrived for this great nation of ours to step out upon the world stage. So let the spotlight fall on us. I am reminded today of the words of George Washington, who said, "To be prepared for war is the most effectual means to promote the peace." We ask for a great navy because no national life is worth having if we are not willing to defend it. All the great masterful races have been fighting races. And to lose the fighting virtues is to lose the right to stand at all. There are higher things in life than the soft enjoyment of material comforts. And it is through strife and the readiness for strife that a man or a nation must win greatness. So let the world know that we are here and willing to pour out our blood, our treasure, our tears, and that America is ready and, if need be, desirous of battle.
You have a great story about the editor wondering where you are in the film.
Yeah, she was in L.A. and the film went back, and then she was, doing the assembly, what they call the assembly, sort of like a first really rough cut. Yeah. And anyway, so she'd been working on it. So when I finally come out, we're getting this like the final print, I guess. So I come out to do the sound work, and when I get on there and say hi to Millie, as and then he walks back in the sound booth, and then I hear the mic come on, and it's the woman sound editor, and she says, "Tom, I'm so-and-so, the sound editor of the film." I go, "Oh, nice to meet you." And she says, "I have to tell you something that I was doing the first assemblies on this and things, and I asked John. I said, John, where is Berenger in this? Isn't he supposed to be in this? And he says, he's Teddy Roosevelt. Whoa.
But it is. I mean, it's not what we're used to seeing you doing.
Reflection on you.
Didn't you wear a teeth piece for that? Didn't you have a different?
Yeah, I had. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic job.
His teeth look like ice cubes, all in a perfect row.
Yeah, that's right.
Square ice cubes.
Yeah,
when they look in the tray.
He did have some big chompers, but no, that was and you said that was pretty exhausting doing that.
Because he's exhausted.
Yeah, high energy.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think that's what is so great about seeing you do it is because he's like way out there compared to a lot of the other roles that we're used to seeing you in. You know, you're always kind of like this calm, cool, collected kind of guy who can like kind of go nuts once in a while. But like, you know, you're like Teddy Roosevelt is always on, and that's got to be hard.
Mm-hmm. And he also, when I read something, was the funniest president we ever had, and I believe that. You see some of the stuff he says. It's just, yeah. It was funny.
Yeah, no, it was a great job. It was a great job in that movie. So, all right, we've got some questions from our listeners. I'm going to get to some of them here. We've touched on a few, so I'm just going to go through these here, like Brian Butler's, for example. Brian Butler says, "Hey Matt, new member here on Patreon. Thank you, Brian. First off, even though a union guy myself, Mr. Berenger's portrayal of Longstreet had me pulling for the Rebs. So my question is, Mr. Berenger, in your portrayal, it seems that the general had an underlying sense of sadness about him. What did you draw on to convey that sadness? I'm a big fan. Thank you."
Well, that was, I think there's some mention from Captain Goree on that, it's the only time you hear it, but yeah, he's carrying his weight around that he didn't have probably at the beginning of the war, but in the winter of 62, and they would have been in stand down, the armies didn't fight, except at Fredericksburg. But the winter of 62, and he's back in Richmond, and the scarlet fever epidemic hit, and 3 of his 4 children died. So he was never quite as folksy, and so he's friendly with his men and all that, but he just wasn't quite as outgoing after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's see here. Another question is from Mike Lentz. He says, "I was raised in Colorado, and my question has a Civil War connection, but not a Gettysburg one. In the TNT miniseries Into the West, you play Colonel John Shivington. How did you prepare for that role, and what are your thoughts on such a controversial figure?"
Well, what I read about him, he was a preacher, which is kind of strange. And then he formed a regiment of volunteer cavalry for the Union in Colorado, and they did fight in some, smaller skirmishy type battles down in New Mexico, Arizona, in that area. Mm-hmm. When the Indian Wars start after the Civil War, he goes down, attacks a Cheyenne village, I believe. It was northern Cheyenne. And they were at peace. They had a flag. They were even flying the stars and stripes out front of the teepees, and attacks this village and just slaughters them. And it was just horrible,
Was that Black Kettle's
village? His men were out of control. What?
Was that Black Kettle's village? That's Shivington?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it was they're just out of control. He's out of control, and his men were just undisciplined, beyond belief. It's a sorry mark on American history.
How do you do that though? Where you play someone like that, and you got to play it, to the hilt, if you're going to do your job right. So, what are you drawn to be someone like that?
I don't know. It's just any of the rigid or hatefulness part of your own personality,
Sure.
We all got
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Rich Snyder asks, he says, have long been a fan of Mr. Berenger, especially his historical films. Was he offered the role of Longstreet again in Gods and Generals? And he wishes you well.
Well, I wish him well.
You hear that, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, he shows up in like 3 scenes in the background. I mean, it's like, what's the point, kind of? It's like, did he just disappear in the first part of the war before Gettysburg?
Right. Like he didn't come into his own until Gettysburg.
Yeah. And I go, what's the point of this? And it's like, if you want to make it about Stonewall Jackson, make it about Stonewall Jackson.
Yeah.
Not try to do everything and civilian characters and this and that stuff. Not necessary. Yeah. Get to it quick and don't get, the whole VMI and all that sort of stuff. Although Jackson and his wife, I think are interesting, but don't get too, yeah. Too spread out.
Right. Let's see here.
And they wouldn't have paid me. I would have got like screen SAG minimum or something. Like, what the hell is this?
So you don't think if you had taken it, they would have made the role bigger?
No. There wasn't time. Yeah.
Okay.
There wasn't time.
Yeah, it is kind of disappointing how little time Longstreet gets in that part, because he did play a role in a lot of those all of those Gettysburg, well, not Chancellorsville, but otherwise, it was a big deal. So, but whatever. Yeah, you're right. They wanted to do Jackson. Okay. Joe Valicenti says 2 scenes have always stood out: the conversation between Longstreet and Fremantle, and the last conversation between Longstreet and Harrison. Both scenes have Longstreet point out the harsh reality of first the war and Southern cause itself, and then the Confederate Army's last-ditch effort to win the Battle of Gettysburg. How did you keep yourself somber to show Longstreet's most well-known demeanor and yet deliver words which were so meaningful and could spark significant emotion in most people?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's one of the... How did I keep myself somber? Well, I mean, he's sort of a somber guy anyway, particularly at this point, in time. But God, what else is it? Okay, those are monologues like you'd have in the theater. All right, it's a long monologue. You're not there alone. The person you're talking to is your audience, obviously. But they do kind of seem somewhat a little bit of a reverie, kind of thinking out loud to yourself sort of thing. What those scenes are basically the writer trying to get all this stuff out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's exposition.
Mm-hmm. Exposition, yeah.
Which has to be acted, yeah. Not just information, sounding like an auditor or something, But so they're tough scenes to do because of that, And they're very, very theatrical, like Shakespeare is loaded with them.
Yes.
Hamlet, to be or not to be, talking to himself. The prologue of the guy in the beginning of Henry IV, or something. It's Richard III in his first scene monologue, talking about what has happened in the English War of Roses and all that, and how bitter he is, and how he's kind of out of work in a way because he's a soldier, and he's also disfigured with a hunchback. But you get a ton of information in those scenes, and if you can act them well, great. It's not you die.
Yeah,
but that's what they're about. It's the writer trying to tell you what's going on.
Right. Yes. Those conversations.
And trying to do it in as economical way as possible without having 100 extra scenes to show it.
Yeah, those conversations would not have happened. I mean, Fremantle would have known everything about the military procedure.
Yeah.
He would have known all that. And Harrison also would have probably known that as soon as they come out of the trees, solid shot, and then, so, yeah. But that's for the sake of the audience. Same with Buster. Buster Kilrain is the author's voice. He's a completely made-up character, and just like another exposition guy. Let's see here. Stephen Byer says, looking back, what would you have done differently in your portrayal of Longstreet?
What would I have done differently?
Yes.
Nothing.
Nothing. All right, that's an easy answer. Alex Snow asks, in the movie Looking for Mr. Goodbar, in some of the bar scenes, did you already know how to boogie, or were you a pretty good disco dancer at the time?
I was a pretty good disco dancer because it started down there in Miami and also like in Puerto Rico and stuff. And I had a Puerto Rican girlfriend, so we were down in salsa and all that kind of stuff before I got up to New York. So and then so there you go.
I heard a rumor you were actually up for the role that John Travolta got in Saturday Night Fever. Is that correct?
No.
I just made that up. That's
It was a bit between him and John.
I never heard of it until it came out. Yeah.
Okay. Alex Snow also has another question about Hatfields and McCoys. You did very well in the character of Jim Vance that I loathe that particular character every time I think of or see that movie. So that's not a question. I'm sorry. He's just telling you, great job. Made him hateable. I guess that's what he's saying.
Question,
no, it was a compliment. It was a compliment. Okay, Ollie, if someone today were to ask you about General James Longstreet, how would you characterize him based on your experiences portraying him?
I would think he was like very, very solid general. I mean, yes, he had a West Point background, but that doesn't always mean everything. He had experience in the Mexican War. He'd personally been wounded in attacks and charges and things, right there in Chapultepec and stuff. And in the Civil War, too. He got shot in the wilderness, much as Jackson did, coming back to his own lines by his own men. A year later.
They like doing that in the Confederate Army.
History repeats itself. Yeah. And I don't know. He was a good guy at logistics and communications and stuff like that, which is an important part of an army, moving an army. That's why Lee always liked him. And I think that probably Jefferson Davis should have had him go out and replace Bragg as commander of the Army in the West.
Yeah.
And he did personally win that battle. I mean, he won that battle at Chickamauga. Yeah. By counterattacking. Yeah. And he would have been 10 times what Bragg was. Yeah. But I don't think Lee wanted to lose him either,
No, he was a solid guy.
I mean, you get enough generals get killed, you start getting scared. Like, geez, who am I going to replace him with? You know what I mean? It's like, it's not, and like Hood is a great example too, because Hood was brave, but I don't know if he should have been commanding more than a brigade or something, Maybe a division, but he shouldn't have been commanding a corps or an army. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe by that point, Eric's shaking his head. What are you saying, Eric? You agree or disagree?
Oh no, I'm fully agreeing. Hood was a great brigade commander, pretty decent division commander, and an awful army commander.
Okay, there you go.
Wow.
Just like horrifyingly bad. If you look at Franklin and the whole Nashville campaign.
Franklin and Nashville,
awful.
Wow.
All right.
Personally responsible for the death of the Army of Tennessee.
There you go. There you go. Eric, the producer,
concurs.
Dropping the gavel on that one there.
Yep. There you have it, folks.
You have a really good grasp of history, Tom. Like when we were talking on the phone, you were jumping all over the place from different periods of time and everything like that. I'm assuming history is an interest of yours.
Huge.
Absolutely. Yep.
I also hear that you have a big, or do have a big collection of Civil War memorabilia.
No, it's all gone.
All gone. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you have?
He had his own museum.
Did you really?
Okay, I think the three. Okay, maybe the three best examples would be. I don't know. I had George Washington, as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, and it was discharge papers for Captain of the Connecticut Line. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
I had Stonewall, a button from Stonewall Jackson's uniform with a little bit of the gray still attached to it, and
neat.
blood on it.
Oh.
But not from...
Had been taken off his uniform, given it to, I don't know, one of the staff guys or something, and then ended up in Guilford Courthouse, Virginia for the rest of its life with this one family that had it framed in a cheap little frame.
Huh.
Yeah.
What'd you do with it?
I sold it.
Oh. What about the map?
Oh yeah,
I'll get into that. But I also had I had on official stationery of the Army of Northern Virginia. That was pretty cool because it was actual stationery, and it had Robert E. Lee signed in the middle, and then it had his entire staff, including you, Bo, including you. Yeah, and it had all the entire staff, engineers, chief of staff. Different engineers. The head surgeon, the commissary commander, the quartermaster, it had everybody on there in a big circle around his name, which was pretty cool. And it was Fredericksburg, December or something, 1862.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then a primo thing, I thought, they all were, but was a map made by
Hotchkiss?
Yes, by Hotchkiss of Chancellorsville, which is one of the most confusing battles. You need a map.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to have an overhead map to see what's going on there. And it was done by him. And it was, of course, he would do a preliminary, and then he would color in everything, and so it had all the different, elevations and colors, and sort of done, and well done. And it ended up in the headquarters, of engineers or whatever for the Confederate Army in Richmond. When Richmond fell, a company of Connecticut soldiers grabbed it. They were supposed to turn it into their engineers, where it would have eventually ended up in the Smithsonian, I think. And it ended up framed and had slight water damage on the margin because it was in a frame, just a regular frame, on a wall in Stratford, Connecticut, I think, in a Grand Army of the Republic hall. After the war, and that was supposed to be turned into the Union engineers. Somebody was disobeying orders.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, because most of those are all, I think, in the Smithsonian. I think now. Yeah.
So, whatever happened to that map? I remember when you bought it. I remember. But I never remember. I knew that when you moved and everything, you got rid of a lot of your stuff. But what happened to the map?
It sold it.
Oh, you did sell it? Okay.
Yeah. So you have none of this stuff left. All of it.
Nothing.
You got rid of it all. Do you miss it?
A little bit. I don't know. But it's like I go, where would it be right now? It'd be in that storage unit down the 15 minutes from here. There's no room.
Yeah.
There's no room for this stuff. No. It's like,
it's cool that you had it at once.
Like my mom lived in 97, and I saw her life just, not that she ever had a lot, but I saw it just reduced to a tiny little room in a nursing home she shared with another woman, And I looked in her closet, and there was like a couple of little pairs of shoes, all comfortable shoes, and then, I don't know, four little outfits, and that's what it comes to if you live too long. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You sit around and you think, okay, like I've told Laura, I said, these two rings, this one was your uncle's and this one was your dad's. I said, coincidentally, interesting enough, both were given to me on our wedding day. One was her mom, my mother-in-law, and the other one was my brother-in-law. he ended up having a ring. He didn't know that Nona had given it to me in the morning, and here it was after the ceremony. And he said, "Tom, come here. I want you. This used to be Uncle Zio Sergio's ring." I'm like, "God, Frank, that's incredible." Because this one, look, this is Roberto's ring. He goes, "Oh, really? Yeah, Nona gave it to me this morning." Anyway, those two go. When I'm gone, those go to my stepdaughter, because that is her grandfather and and her great uncle. Yeah. And then I go, this goes to my daughter, these go to my son. You know, you start doing that. You just parceling it out. Yeah.
Well, this has been quite an honor for me to have you come on here and do this, Tom. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the time you've given me in the last week on the phone talking about all this. Feel free to give me a call anytime you want to shoot the shit, Tom. It's
yeah.
It was very enjoyable.
I enjoyed it too, man. Thank you.
Good,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to all of the patrons, and actually not just patrons, but all the people that sent in questions. We didn't get to all of them. There were like, I probably had like 60 to 80 of them, and a lot of them were redundant and stuff. And so we tried to ask a representative question of all the ones that came in. Yeah, so that's about it. Tom, and you got to come up and paint the town with Bo and I one night. We really get wild.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It'd be fun. Mm-hmm. We go to the Farnsworth house and down to that Colonial bar.
Yeah.
At the Dobbins house. Yeah.
That's basically where we go. So
how long are you going to be? How long will you be in Italy when you leave in March? Do you know?
How what?
How long are you going to be? You going to be back this summer, or?
We plan on 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we plan on 3 weeks. And we'll see. I'm like kind of nervous. I don't want to get quarantined somewhere for 2 weeks. And you know what I mean?
Nightmare. Yeah.
You just don't know. I mean, and those things change. The European Union changes, and then it's okay now. Oh no, it's not okay. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, so on and so forth. England is different than the other ones because they get a different strain, and it's just.
Why don't you just stay home and listen to Dean Martin for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
So, I'll check in with you at some point.
All right, Bo.
Yep. And for those of you at home, you go on Amazon Prime, check out the Battle of the Bulge. There's a 3-part. Is it 3-part series, or it's just 3 separate movies, right?
No, it's like 3 separate independent movies. Yeah, and the third one is not done yet.
Okay. Oh, that's why I couldn't find it. Okay, so right now we have Wonderland and Winter War that are available on Amazon Prime. And a personal recommendation is a movie called Supervised, which cracked me up. It's about retired superheroes, and there's some conspiracy afoot at the retirement home. And it gave me a couple of legitimate belly laughs. So that's also on Amazon Prime. You could Tom Berenger Online is Tom's website. And thank you all for listening. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Bo, for putting this together.
Bye, Eric. Bye, Bo.
See you later, Tom.
Later.
We'll see you later.
All right, guys.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Enjoyed it.
All right.
Enjoyed it. Bye-bye.
God bless.
All right.
You too.
That was great. Thank you very much, Tom. I really appreciate this. Oh, he left. He's done.
Our hearts so stout have got us famed, forsooth 'tis known from whence we came. Wherever we go, they dread the name of Gary Owen in glory. Instead, follow, drink down, and pay the reckoning on the name.